Christian Miller. It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a great weekend. You know, we've been getting our James Spann on recently with all the weather changes, the whole winter storm or whatever you call that thing that came through. But, well, guys, it looks like we're finally on the up and up, man. 45 degrees we're sitting at. Doing my daily walk with my dog, and I felt a lot better this morning. I know the sun's out, which is great. So hope you guys are heating up as well. I know like the last couple of days, it got down like the teens, man. I'm like seeing pictures and videos from back home in South Carolina, even North Carolina. I mean, look, there's a bunch of snow. We didn't get any snow. Now, I don't know if any of our other listeners, I know we got people literally all over, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people that did get snow, but I wonder if some of our listeners like outside in Alabama, but just around various parts of the state. Was there any snow? Chase, Wyatt, Matt? I mean, did y'all see anywhere like in Alabama that actually got snow, or was it just a little bit icy?
Just a little bit of ice, nothing too crazy, but I say it would be a little bit mild for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of jealous, man. I know I just was complaining to you guys behind the scenes about being cold, but I'm like, hell, if you're going to be cold, we might as well get some snow, like make it worth it. I didn't see any. I think I saw some flurries, but that was about it. But I'm hoping we're really on the up and up. Now I know it says it's I don't know, it's supposed to rain or something. Who knows what's going to happen with that? I don't know, but I'll leave that business for James Spann because that's not my forte. I think we like to talk sports around here, and we're going to do plenty of that on today's show. There's a number of things going on this weekend. You got a big recruiting weekend going on. A lot of recruits in town. Some highly sought after guys. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. I'll be the first one to tell you we're not recruiting experts on this show. Now I see kind of who's in town. I sometimes look them up, watch their tape, and kind of see who we might be targeting. And I've seen a couple guys, and that's definitely exciting. So maybe we'll talk about that. But we did add another player to this roster as Alabama continues to shape the roster a little bit. Again, the numbers are now different, up to 105 scholarship players. So you need bodies. It's not the same the way it was constructed before. So that is something to consider because we did add a running back via the portal. Now, it wasn't necessarily Hollywood Smothers or a player of that caliber. It was a guy with a really cool name, by the way, Khalifa Keith, who comes from made two stops, one at Tennessee, another at App State. Not the most production. I believe he did suffer an injury, I think last season. But I will say when you look at the position, needing more bodies there, it definitely makes sense. But I know a lot of people sometimes they jump immediately. They hear a name or they see a commitment and they immediately jump and go look at the I guess like the rankings and all that. And like I tell you guys all the time, man, ignore the rankings. Just look up the tape. And we've had a lot of people, man. If I feel like we've been inspiring people to do that, be a lot more I guess, active when it comes to breaking things down and going and analyzing for themselves. Even if you don't necessarily know what to look for, hell, it's just a start, man. And I feel like we've had a number of people come back on here and say, hey, we've started watching tape because of you, and we enjoy it now. And I've always preached that, so hopefully we can keep doing that. But we'll talk a little bit about Khalifa Keith and what he might bring to this 2026 football team. Plus, there's a number of polls and predictions that are still rolling out. It's that time of year, guys. And I'll say this, Josh Pate released his, I guess, way too early top 25 poll. So we'll discuss where he had Alabama and several other SEC football teams on that poll, which I'm not going to lie, looking at it, I can't tell if he's trolling just because of the number one spot or he's dead serious. And I think he actually is serious. We'll talk about that in a moment. Plus, in terms of predictions, now I'm just going to tell you guys, I don't necessarily know exactly who this guy is, but I feel like I see him pop up when he says like a lot of just bad takes or crazy takes. So definitely don't take his prediction serious. But he did, I guess, do like a whole, I guess, 2026 schedule prediction for every SEC team. And I wanted to discuss where he had Alabama at and get y'all's thoughts on that as well. So those are a couple things that we'll hit on. Plus, a number of other news that we definitely got to talk about. Basketball for sure. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Alabama men's basketball. We'll probably start with that. Kind of get y'all's thoughts on how this team is looking. Number one, now 1-2 with Bediako back. obviously not really going the way people probably would have hoped it to have gone. And at this point, man, I feel like every time we lose with Bediako, it just puts more and more attention on the whole situation. People keep chiming in. Now you got former coaches calling for us to be banned from postseason play. We'll talk some about that. And plus, guys, I don't know if you had saw this news yet, but it came out earlier today. Gus Malzahn, man, one of our like arch nemesis is here in Tuscaloosa, is hanging it up, man. He's hanging the headset up, and or maybe he's hanging the coaching headset up. Maybe he's going to join the broadcasting world. Who knows? But he announced that he will be retiring from Florida State. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get our get back on him. We still play Florida State this upcoming season. However, it won't consist of Gus Malzahn. So that's definitely kind of interesting. I wonder how that could affect Florida State moving forward. But just saw that and figured that'd be kind of big. And last but not least, you had the Senior Bowl this weekend. 3 of our guys participating in it: LT Overton, Tim Keenan, Josh Cuevas, all guys that had solid weeks from everything that I'm told. That they all performed well down there. I'm sure they all were able to raise their stock. Always a great opportunity, even just being down there, being able to meet with teams and kind of getting that process started very early. So shout out to those guys. But this is a big thing that I do want to talk about. Hopefully we can get to it at some point today. If not, we'll definitely do it tomorrow. But it was interesting because I saw this report, and this comes from Mike Rodak. And I guess uh, the original report comes from, I want to say it was Matt Miller, who, breaks down, the draft process, prospects, always is involved in that capacity. Well, speaking of Ty Simpson, right, we had heard, it was like a few weeks ago when Ty, I think, was making his decision that they had received nothing but first round grades, which I thought, probably made sense given the quarterback class that we have outside of Fernando Mendoza, who's, I think clearly the number one pick. Dante Moore returning to school, you would assume that Ty would kind of bump up into that quarterback 2 spot, which if you're quarterback 2, it's almost, um, I would say probably almost a given that you're more than likely going to be a first round draft pick. Well, allegedly, down at the Senior Bowl, um, Matt Miller, who we just said again, he's very involved in the whole draft process, all that draft stuff. Allegedly, he claims that he could not find one single, I guess, GM or front office personnel down there that could give him a first round grade on Ty Simpson. So, the reason I bring that up is it's kind of interesting the conflicting reports because on one end you have Ty Simpson's father who said, neither them nor his agency or his camp received anything outside of a first round grade. And then you got Matt Miller, who, and I'm not saying all the draft experts, Mel Kiper, all these guys are perfect. We know they're not, but I mean, this guy's a very reputable and credible guy when it comes to this stuff. So it's just kind of interesting when you hear that. So I kind of want to talk about that and bring that back up. Is Ty a solidified first round draft pick? I was kind of leaning towards, even though I felt he probably would have benefited coming back to school one more year, made sense kind of with the draft process where he was at in terms of rankings for his position, what he showed throughout the year. Obviously, didn't have the best second half of the season, but the tools are there. And hell, we even reshared a video online of just a breakdown of Ty Simpson, and Chase Daniels was raving about the guy. So just some interesting stuff, and I think it'd be an interesting conversation. So those are all the things that I've seen this weekend that I want to bring up and talk about. And we'll do that on the other side this first time out right here on the Miller's Edge, Ty 100.9, 1230. WTBC, we got to hit a quick timeout. Remember, you guys can always join in on the conversation. If there's anything that you guys want to discuss or talk about, feel free to hit us up. 205 342 9904 is the number to the program. Or you can always join us on our live streams where we got the live chat going at the Miller's Edge on YouTube, at Tidal 100.9 on Facebook. We also stream there live as well if you prefer Facebook. And come hang out with us as we dive in to this Manic Monday right here on the Miller's Edge, Tidal 100.9, 1230, WTBC. Quick timeout. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's a crime to.
Excuse me. At least I got through the segment without having to clear my throat a million times. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? How's y'all's weekend? Let's see what we got here. We got you, Kenji. What's up? E. Burgess, what's going on? Brock, what's up? Gus Bus finally is over. Finally, great news for Bama. Hey, man, listen, it was always fun going against him. He's one hell of a coordinator, man. You got to give him that. But I feel like this might be a common theme, man. I feel like you might start seeing coaches get out of the game a little bit earlier. I mean, talk about the sacrifices that this game requires. I don't know if you guys saw the news about the GM from Minnesota. Allegedly, yes, he took 2 weeks off paternity leave when with the birth of his son. Excuse me. I mean, I tell people all the time, man, when they talk about, oh, Christian, you don't want to coach, or even like when I was playing, man, like you have to eat, sleep, and breathe football, man. Um, and I feel like nowadays with all the other things being added on the plates of these coaches, I wouldn't be shocked if this becomes a theme where you start seeing some guys maybe kind of end up calling it. I hate saying calling it quits, but you know what I mean, retiring a little bit earlier. Saw some flurries Saturday, nothing stuck. Yeah, that's how it's about for us. What do you think about the running back we signed? Marquise Mays kind of gave a rough take on some of the portal additions. That's a good point. We'll bring that up. That'll be an interesting topic to talk about. We'll get through this basketball real quick, and we'll dive into that. Excuse me. I saw his tweet too, and just to kind of I guess give a little bit of a snippet of my thoughts. I mean, you guys know me, man. I mean, I've watched the tape, and you've heard from me. I mean, I haven't been blown away with too many of the guys that we brought in. I definitely can understand, youth potential and all that stuff. So I wouldn't like bash any of the moves we necessarily did. I mean, I can always talk about it. I would have uh, probably try to get a little more experience or try to find a guy that maybe display a little bit more of these traits. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, um, that staff. I mean, they're going to get the guys that they feel like fit what they're trying to do. I mean, like for example, like the defensive line, it is evident. I mean, there is a lot of length. I mean, even that picture that my dog Jamie posted on his way out with his defensive line unit. I mean, that young freshman that they brought in who's like 6'6". I mean, he looks like he's put on weight. He was listed like 240. There's no way that guy's still 240. I mean, he's got to be in the 260 range at least. So I mean, I think they do want to try to get more length up front, bigger. Um, and I think once you kind of figure out the direction that Kane really wants to go with this defense, um, it'll probably make a little bit more sense too. But listen, I mean, if he's turned on tape and he hadn't been blown away, I mean, I respect the fact that he's turned on tape. You know what I mean? And he's not just going off of rankings or ratings. But I wouldn't say like I think what he said like we're just offering anybody. I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I do feel like there's a couple of guys that we've taken that, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that I don't think we would have taken them a few years ago. But I also understand that sometimes it's about some coaches lean a little bit more into traits and things like that, and they hope that they can really hit on the potential. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, even the other way around. Sometimes you try to get on guys that are just good ball players. You know what I mean? But then sometimes that don't work out. So it just all depends. But that's a great question. We'll definitely hit that topic. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's dive into some of this stuff. We'll hit a little bit of this basketball talk real quick, just to kind of. I don't like saying get it out the way, right? Because we like basketball and we support Alabama men's basketball, but I know football is our bread and butter. But I like doing it earlier in the show. Um, that way, yeah, okay, let's just call it what it is. Kind of get it out the way. Alabama men's basketball played yesterday, played on a Sunday, man. And unfortunately, they didn't get too much of a blessing down there in Gainesville. I want to say the final score was what 100-77. Uh, not a great showing by any means. Florida just seems to just be in our way at this point. I want to say they're on a 5-game winning streak against us now, and this comes after their head coach had a little bit to say that, hey, it doesn't matter if they got Bediako, Charles Barkley, or Shaquille O'Neal down in there, man. We're going to beat them anyways. Now, he didn't say all that, but he kind of was alluding to that. Well, they did just that. They did beat us. And it now makes us 1-2 with Bediako being back. And listen, Chase, why, Matt, I'm curious y'all's thoughts on this whole thing, too, because this is a team that, I mean, one could argue might have the best backcourt in the country. Clearly, we struggle down low, and that's been a kind of a thing. I feel like with Coach Oates, man, I feel like we've always kind of lacked a little bit of that presence down there. Backcourt has always been pretty solid, um, but it's gotten to the point where now people are kind of questioning the style of play that we play with. You know, we shoot a lot, fast pace, all that good stuff, but it just seems that maybe it's not the most consistent. And at this point, man, I mean, Alabama, I think we've got bumped back to a projected maybe 6 seed, and just very interesting to see how these things are going to go the next couple of weeks. Because I mean, it's not going to get easier. We still got to play some really good basketball teams. Um, but Chase, I mean, did you watch the game? And what were your thoughts overall? Just kind of seeing that, man. Are you concerned where we're at right now uh, with this basketball team, knowing that, hey, man, we just went and got our professional center back from the G League, and it's still just not enough, man. We're sitting at 1-2 with them.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned, Christian. I think even bringing Charles Bediako back to Bama, I think there were still some concerns that you're starting to see, especially against Florida. I think our toughness has really hit a low. Rebounding has been an issue, and it's still being something that I don't understand why we're not putting a lot of emphasis on it. I think the terms of the backcourt, you talk about Aiden Holloway and LeBaron Philon, and I think a lot of people expected them to just, you know, be Steph Curry and Klay Thompson when they're facing top defenses like Florida, like I would say Tennessee and Purdue early in the year. And, they're not bad players at all. They're one of our best players, but, this is the SEC, and you're going to see top notch competition every night. Any team can lose. And I think Nate Oates has to really bring his team in and be like, look, everybody's gunning for us. Now that Charles Bediako is on our team, we're going to have to lock in because the schedule doesn't get any easier. They'll make the tournament and everything like that, but you want to ride high in the season because, there's highs and lows, and you want to be on the high end as much as possible before you're kind of faced with like, do I switch the lineup up? Do I give Bediako more minutes, less minutes? What do I need to get my team to continue playing at a high level? And right now you're not seeing, and I don't know if you watch his press conferences, he's dejected. You would have thought the season ended a little bit in the Florida press conference, but I don't know. They can fix it, but I think just the amount of injuries they've had, Christian, it's really piling up. A lot of their transfers are not playing, and you need bodies on the floor because what happened on Sunday, I don't think it's a fluke. I think a lot of injuries are just becoming the name of the game for Bama. But once they get those bodies back on the floor, I think you'll see a different team, but they need to have people back on the floor to compete at a high level.
No, I agree, and it is important. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, they are dealing with a number of injuries, and lineup hasn't been very consistent due to those injuries. So I mean, it's part of the equation, but it still is just kind of like, man, like I feel like going into the season, a lot of people were fired up about this team, and a lot of people had a lot of high expectations for them. Now, I will say, now they start the season playing like some of their best competition teams that we started the year with. I mean, there's several like top 5, top 10 teams that we played, and almost, it's on one end you would think, man, that would just set us up for this moment. But like you said, the injuries and stuff, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But when you mentioned the toughness, I think you're right. That is something that does feel like is lacking a little bit. People talk about it with football, but it seems like it's almost spilling over to basketball a little bit, which is kind of interesting when you think about it, because you talk about, we always say on the show, taking on the persona of your coach. But I mean, Coach Oates is about one of the toughest coaches you can find out there. You know what I mean? And why is that not necessarily translating to these guys? Is it the players that we're bringing in? I personally, I just don't think we've necessarily brought in. I know we've got a lot of good talent, but in terms of like certain positions, maybe like especially like big men, maybe we just haven't really hit on some of these guys. I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully they figure something out, because I mean it's man, I don't know, man. I was excited about this team this year, but right now we're sitting at 14-7, 4-4 in the conference after the loss to Florida. I want to say, is it Texas A&M that we have next? I think Bediako still is cleared for that next game until his hearing, which is on the 6th. So he's got one more game, I believe, before the official hearing. We'll find out the ruling on that. But this leads to my next point, and we're going to get into some football here in a second. I just want to at least ask this question, get y'all's thoughts on it before we hit this next time out. But again, you bring Bediako back. You're 1-2 right now. a number of things going on. It is what it is. However, the more it goes on, especially without like the official ruling, which again, the 6th, due to the weather that we had over the past week, they had to, reschedule it. But I'm starting to see people just pile up. I don't know if you guys were watching, but it sounded like, Dickie V was very outspoken on his thoughts about the whole thing. And I've even seen at this point, I think it was Bruce Pearl, which I know, I mean, you can say, oh, Bruce Pearl, well, of course he's going to be trying to take a shot at Alabama, but I don't think he's the only person that's made comments like this. But people even wondering if Alabama should be banned from postseason play. I think that's a little too far. And you guys have heard my opinion. I've even said like this has not been my favorite move that we've done, just to be completely transparent. I'm just not the biggest fan of doing it. And I get it, the whole European, and we've talked about this, but the biggest difference that separates us is that Charles was in school here, then declared. He had bad advice, whatever the case. To me, it's just like, man, once you declare yourself, you're declared. And not even just once you declare, because you can declare, then come back to school. But once you declare and sign contracts, to me, that's just like your eligibility is exhausted. Just like in football, somebody asked Coach DeBoer about it, they'd be like a practice squad guy, damn near, right? Oh, well, he like, Wyatt gave an example like CJ Dupree. That just, I think it just keeps opening doors that don't need to be open. And a matter of fact, I'm not saying it was all on Bediako, because I think it's really been all the cases adding up. Bediako just happened to be the most recent, and also probably a notch up. And the reason I say notch up is because, like I just mentioned, even the Baylor guy who was drafted, he didn't attend college, right? Like he was drafted, but he never stepped foot on a college campus. Bediako did. And so now we just saw, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but over the weekend, a guy from the Charlotte Hornets, right? I guess I'd call the Hornets somewhat of my team, being, former Panther, but we've got former Hornets players who actually played in NBA games, like literally actually played in NBA, not just G League, but actually played. Amari Bailey, um, he officially hired an agent and a lawyer and is attempting to return to college basketball. He played in 10 NBA games and also the G League. So again, I'm not blaming it on Bediako. I know some people are saying, "Oh, thanks Bediako." I'm not saying it's only on Bediako, because it's been a number of these cases adding up. However, he just happened to be the most recent and probably the next step up. But to me, I mean, this should be a hard no. The whole Amari Bailey thing, it should be a hard no. I mean, he played in 10 NBA games. That's playing in professional games, and I know they're going to argue, well, the Europeans played professional overseas. Um, but still, again, those guys didn't come to school first, then leave. To me, it's just like if you make this decision to come to school, then make the decision to leave and end up playing pro. I just not the biggest fan of it. But anyway, if we need to dive into that a little bit more, we can. But like I said, I saw the news about Amari Bailey. I wanted to throw that out there for you guys, because I just thought it was crazy. I'm like, we just keep stretching and keep stretching. This is exactly what I said was probably going to happen, which a lot of people did as well. And that's what's happening. And then you see people just piling up on us right now, man, given the whole situation. Like I said, Bruce Pearl, the most recent person to make the claim that the NCAA should consider banning us from the tournament over that. I don't think that happens. I think he's, maybe just using this as an opportunity to take a shot potentially. But I don't know. I guess what I just hope is maybe they can just get some clear, concrete rules. Kind of like Nate Oates said in his press conference. I think he mentioned that, like, until there's some like formal rules. However, in my head, I'm like, I guess the formal rules are that, I mean, you're not supposed to play pro, then come back. But to his point, you got the European thing. The European thing is messing everything up. Let's just that, because that's really the only basis that these G League guys have right now. So I don't know. I just can't believe it's still going on. But I guess maybe after February 6th, with the hearing scheduled for Charles Bediako, we'll know more. And it's either going to continue down this trend, because if they clear him, you might see a guy like Amari Bailey have some type of case. But we'll see what happens then. I guess we're a few days out. But anyway, we got to hit a timeout. We come back, we keep on rolling. Plus, we got to dive into some football talk again. Alabama adds a portal running back. Some people a little confused when they look at it. We'll talk about it and discuss what his role might look like here for this 2026 roster. All that coming up right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. What's up, Mike? think new running backs are junior. Maybe you just want a mature player in that room. Nah, I don't think it's about like a mature player. I think it's more so just about depth. I was talking about this earlier that um, you need bodies, right? You got to think like when you practice, like you have to have people to practice, right? So normally, when you're not doing good on good. I talked about this last week about you're separate. You need a scout team. Scout team normally consists of really young players, like true freshmen, maybe some sophomore guys that are like, third and fourth string players that go over to the scout team. But you also need like walk ons. You need a number of people. Excuse me, you need bodies. And I think before the addition of Keith, we were sitting at, was it 5 running backs? I think he made 6, something like that. So you got to think, I mean, you might have had maybe one. And if you really think about it, matter of fact, I mean, I don't even know who you would want to send over there because you got Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley, both those guys clearly have played. They're not going to be scout team players. I mean, they're going to be expected to be competing to contribute. You've got AK Deer, who probably spent some time on the scout team last year, earlier on in the season at least, just because he was young and wasn't necessarily being, uh, depended on early on. I'm trying to think. Crowell. Why am I missing the back? Why I feel like I'm forgetting somebody? I need to pull up the depth chart. But anyway, long story short, you need bodies, and that's what this guy is. I gave the example to Chase and Wyatt earlier when we were talking. I mean, even just look at the guy from Dre Washington, right? I mean, he came in here. He was an older back. He had production. He actually had production. People probably would, if you go back and look, people probably thinking, "Oh, this guy's going to compete." He ain't end up really even contributing. He was, played special teams. It was more of just kind of a body. I think that's what this guy is, right? So my advice would be, don't overanalyze every addition that we get. I mean, not every single person is going to be, um, how do you explain? Not everybody is going to be like expected to be this immediate contributor, expected to be. Hell, they might. I'll be honest with you. Some guys might just be just that. It might just be bodies. They don't really expect them to really contribute at any point. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but it's true, man. I mean, sometimes you take guys when you don't really like think they'll be, you know, big contributors, but you need bodies, and you're like, well, maybe they could at some point. But and I think, I mean, with the roster the way it was right now, and lack of depth in certain positions, you just got to take some players. Um, but and once we get to this, I'll talk more about it. But I like it, to Marquise's point again. I would not go as far as saying like it's like, oh, taking anybody like that. But to be fair, I mean, there's a couple players um, whose tape that I watched. I just was like, I don't know if I would have necessarily saw them being like Alabama caliber guys. But at the end of the day, again, you need bodies. So and welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC, talking still a little bit about this whole basketball Bediako thing, but we'll know more in a few days. We'll definitely know more. But like I said, man, you got people piling up now. I mean, commentators not feeling it. You got Bruce Pearl throwing his thoughts in there, trying to get Alabama banned from the postseason. Don't think that even happens, but it is what it is. I guess that comes with it. I guess the 6th of February, we'll know a lot more. That said, um, let's transition a little bit over to the football side of things because I know a lot of people are excited to talk about this. Alabama did, in fact, add another player. Sorry, I'm like mixing his name with the word player. Sorry, I wasn't trying to call him a player. Another player via the transfer portal, Khalifa Keith. Again, I think he's probably got one of the coolest names out there. Shout out to Truett, man. Truett mentioned that when we were talking about it. But again, I know there's been a lot of mixed reactions about Khalifa Keith. Again, he's a guy that um, has had kind of a, he's not guy going to show the most production when you pull him up. I think in 2024 at Tennessee, he ended up having 100 yards total for 1 touchdown. Last year, I think he had 8 yards. I think suffered an injury when he was at App State. So not a whole bunch of production from him. He is a bigger back. He is 6'1". I want to say listed like 235, 230, something like that. But he started his career at Tennessee before transferring to App State, suffered that injury, I believe, and he only played in 4 games, I think, total, while he was at Tennessee, something like that. In 2023, he played in 12 games. I'm sorry, finishing the season with 11 carries for 2020, or excuse me, for 24 yards. In 2024, he played in just 4 games, finishing the season with 13 yards. So I don't know. Some of these stats I don't even know are lining up all the way. But anyway, he is a native of Alabama. He's from Birmingham, so he's not far. He's not from far up the street. And listen, my thoughts on him. I know a lot of people are asking. I view him as another depth piece that you're adding. You need another body, um, and you guys got to remember with the new scholarship numbers, rosters are going to look a little bit different, right? Because now you have up to 105 scholarships that you can scholarship players on your team. So um, where you might have had walk-ons in the past in terms of like where they're at on your roster, now you can fill those spots with more scholarship guys. So there's going to be guys that probably would have been small school type players, but now they will have the opportunity to go play at bigger schools given the new numbers with scholarships. So when I look at a player like this, I feel like he probably fits the mold of somebody like that. I gave the example during the break of like, Dre Washington. He was a lot more, he had a lot more production coming in here. And one probably would have said that, yeah, he probably could compete. I know Pat used to call like every day last year and raving about this guy, thinking he was going to be like the next Mark Ingram. But at the end of the day, you got to understand. I mean, you need bodies because before we added him, you had Daniel Hill, you had A.K. Deer, Kevin Riley, then you had Crowell, who a lot of people are excited about. I think he got bumped up to a 5-star, really talented football player. Just watching his high school tape, but he's going to be young, similar to Ryan Williams. He skipped his senior season, so he'll be like 17 years old. And then the other freshman that came in, Trayshawn Brown. So I think he had a total of 5 running backs, like overall. And the way practice works is, I mean, you don't just again, practice is not like what you see in high school or whatever. I mean, like you break off, you got scout team periods. You need a scout team. You need guys that can go give looks. You need bodies, right? And so when you're sitting at 5 running backs total, that's not enough. You need more bodies. To me, this is one of those deals. Not saying he couldn't get here and hell outplay a number of guys and work his way up. That's just not what I see from a pickup like this. To me, this is more like, hey, we need a body. We need somebody in that room. I don't even think it's like, hey, we're trying to get a veteran presence because I wouldn't even really call. I know he's an older guy, but he hadn't really played a whole bunch either. To me, I think it's a depth piece. Great addition. Glad he wanted to come here. Cool. I think if you're over analyzing it, I just got to. I think you're probably looking at it from the wrong perspective, other than what it really should be. And this is really just a depth piece. Um, so that's the. I mean, that's really the bottom line with it. I'll be honest. I wish I had more to say, but you just got to understand when you're putting a team together, not every single player is going to be, oh, we think this guy's going to be this. It's just not really possible. And so there's going to be a lot of guys now that probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to play at the University of Alabama that will, given the new numbers, and it makes sense. And I think that's just kind of part of the deal with that because you also got to remember too, thing about injuries. So if you were sitting at 5 running backs and you got 2 guys that go down, so now you have 3 guys that you're expecting to actually contribute in the game. Who's going to go practice on the scout team? I mean, you're just going to have those guys splitting reps when they're supposed to be over on the offensive field getting reps for the game. You get what I'm saying? Like you have to think like that. So you need players. Like you have to have players. And so that's probably what you're going to see a couple guys like this being added. Even like if you look at like the receivers, a couple receivers that we added via the high school route, young guys that were had smaller school offers wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to come play at Alabama, but given the way the numbers work, we need bodies. It worked out, and yeah, that's really all it is to it. And I know somebody asked about um, the tweet from I think it was like Marquise Mays saying, man, this kind of feels like we're taking anybody. And I'll just say this. Again, when you look at it from like the management, like a roster management perspective, I wouldn't say just that. I would say number of the guys that we've brought in. I mean, while they might not necessarily like, there's been a couple that I've watched their tape, and I would say man, they don't really feel like they would have been, Alabama type players a few years ago. That's just my opinion, just knowing like the caliber of players that we've gone after. But again, you got a new coaching staff, and they might value some things more than others. And they've done a pretty nice job, I would say, with a number of their evaluations over the last couple of years. But I don't think we're just like offering anybody. I think some guys are going to be depth pieces. That's what they are. And I think other times there might be a couple guys that you might look at and be like, but everybody kind of sees things differently. Just like when I watch tape, like I'm going off of what I think would translate or will work here. And, in my mind, I'm like, all right, we're trying to reestablish, dominant trenches. How does this guy fit into that whole picture? And if I don't see that, I mean, I'll share my comments on that. But then they might view it from a perspective that they're looking for more length and athleticism, and might not necessarily be that big, strong physical presence now, but maybe they feel like they get some weight on him, get him stronger, and teach him fundamentally how to play a different way, and maybe utilizing him in a fashion that he's going to be more, elusive, more on slant, more disruptive type movements up front. Maybe that's a better fit. So there's a number of ways to look at it, but those are just my quick initial thoughts. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll keep on rolling. We'll go to the phone lines 205-342-9904. We got Smitty, we got Super Joe, and others will keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Don't go anywhere. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
At Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa, luxury may be closer than you think. Right here in Tuscaloosa, during the Mercedes...
Let's see. Wait, in a slump. Who said we're in a slump? Jake, what's up? If you guys haven't, man, smash that like button real quick. I don't even know where we're at. Let's see where we're at. I feel like we were running pretty solid. We got 25. Not bad, not bad. Let's see if we can get up to 40 real quick during this timeout. Yeah, you need bodies, but they could have gotten a younger player just for a body. I think his age helps. Yeah, I mean, I guess you probably could have tried to find a high school kid, maybe that was still left that you could have signed. But like you said, I mean, well, the first time you said they wanted a veteran presence. If you just meant like by his age, yeah, I mean, I agree. Maybe they probably took the route of take an older player that just in case you need him to contribute a little bit. Maybe he would be a little bit further along than a high school kid. But if you're talking about veteran presence, like he's going to come in that room and kind of be like that leader just because he's older. I mean, with the limited amount of snaps that he's seen, I don't know if I would classify him as that type of veteran. But I mean, like I said, it's all about philosophy, I mean, and everybody's different. When you're when you're building your roster, everybody's got different approaches. Like we've got a really young team right now. That's kind of a little bit a thing of the. I wouldn't call it a thing of the past, but it's not necessarily the way a lot of people are moving towards. But everybody's philosophy is different. You just got to hope it works out well. You know. Honestly, what good is he making a difference with Betty Bediako? Oh, it's basketball. Yeah, I mean, you guys already know my opinion. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but at this point, man, I just feel like we kind of just, I don't know. I feel like we've kind of embarrassed ourselves a little bit. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying everybody feels that way, but it just is kind of like, man, like we made that move, and now it's just kind of like I wouldn't say it's backfiring, but like sitting at 1-2 with them, just not really, don't feel like a great look. Uh, Nobody has proved to be talented enough to keep Crowell off the field. Well, this is what I'll remind you guys, right? So, because even last year when everybody was like, demanding AKD or play, but you guys, you have to remember it's not just about, hey, this kid is so much better than everybody else. Like, there's a system, right? So, I mean, like college football, NFL football. Like, again, I'm not saying this to like sound condescending, but I'm just telling you guys, it's not the same as like high school where you just throw a kid in there and you're telling him he's just handing the bike. Especially like Coach DeBoer's offense and their system is like uber complicated. Even like with a guy like Keelan Russell, like when people wanted him just to go in, it's not as simple as just putting somebody in there. So as talented as Crowell looks, it's going to also include him having to make sure he can pick up the system, make sure he can learn what to do. Because if you go back and watch, I'm pretty sure AK Deer when he got in against Georgia, he had a whole season at that point. What, 11 games under his belt before that game? I think something like that, and still didn't look very confident on what he was doing. So you gotta think about that stuff too. Is that I wish it was that easy, but there's a whole nother piece that these guys have to learn and know exactly what to do. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's do this. Let's see. All right, let's wait till the top of the hour to take Smitty and Super Joe, only because I don't want to rush them, because I know we got to hit a timeout in literally like 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes. So, Smitty, Joe, y'all just be patient. We're going to hit this timeout in a second, then we'll come back and open up second hour with phone calls. But I'll say this. I want to answer this real quick, because I know we were talking about the running back spot, and this brought up a good point. Somebody mentioned Crowell, and, man, there's nobody in front of him that's going to keep him on the field. And I just want to remind everybody just how, like, this thing works, because I think sometimes people forget, when it comes to getting in here and playing, like, if it was only based off of talent, it would be a whole different scenario. But the problem is, man, like, especially as a young player, there's an adjustment gap, and it's not just from a physical perspective, but even just learning the system that you're now playing and learning, the way to play at this level. A lot of guys come from high school, and they're going to be asked to do things that they never had to do. For example, when I was in high school and I'm playing off the edge, half the time I was just taught just run, see ball, get ball. I'm running upfield, doing all these things. I never had to play in a true six technique. And even if I did, I was just running through the face of the tight end. I was not playing with technique. You get what I'm saying? I wasn't taught how to really close and spill. We were just a wrong arm and stuff. I wasn't taught how to block, or excuse me, box, a puller out, play with my outside arm free. I had no clue about all the different coverages and stuff. I mean, we ran some man coverage, cover three, like the most basic principle stuff. But then you get to college and it's like, man, you're asked all these different things. So the reason I bring that up is, you got to sometimes be a little patient when you're expecting some of these young guys to just immediately play. Because I know it's tempting when you see them on tape in high school and you're like, man, this guy, he's definitely going to be out there. Nobody in front of him is gonna, keep him from being on the field. However, it's not all about talent. I just urge you guys to keep that in mind, because even like with AK Deer, I mean, I just made the example during the break. You look at when he did get in against Georgia, it was evident. There's that one play I know that was really bad where there was a complete miscommunication, but he didn't really have a full grasp of the offense or what he was supposed to be doing like that. You get what I'm saying? So um, I think Crowell definitely be pushing for playing time. But I also think a lot of it will have to do with not only, the physical adjustment, but how quick can he pick up this offense? And I know you're probably thinking, oh, well, just playing running back. But, man, whether it's, blitz pickup, pass pro, I mean, you gotta learn all that. That's important. That's really important if you want to get on the field. And then even just, again, knowing the different plays, because you look at, how we operate as an offense, there's a lot that goes into it. And if you can't tell, just go back and watch. I mean, that's why Ty was doing all these checks. And if you ask me, probably doing a little bit of too much, right? Probably asking them to do a little too much. I think that's why you saw a number of times the clock's going down to zero. We're having to call timeout. There's a lot going on. This is a very complicated offense. If you ask anybody, that's why they always talk about, even the guys that came with the board, they talk about, knowing the system. They do a lot of different stuff. So I think one of the biggest, hurdles for a lot of these young players was going to be how quickly can they pick up this system? It's going to be important. So, not saying that he can't, but I just think you got to always keep that stuff in mind before you go and say, "Oh, well, this guy's going to be that." That would just be my friendly reminder to anybody, because I think some people, they get frustrated when they're not seeing these young players play. But I just know, man. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit of a adjustment, man. High school is one thing, but college and the systems that they require are a whole another thing. So just my 2 cents. But I do think he's a great player. I liked his tape a lot. I think he's one of the few guys that gives you that kind of, I don't know, he feels like a true 3-down back. He's tough. He's got great burst and explosiveness. I mean, he puts his foot in the ground, gets upfield, make guys miss. He's physical. Excuse me. So I'm excited for him, but I'm always patient when it comes to young players, just because I know that adjustment, not only from a physical perspective, but even from a mental perspective, kind of picking things up. All right, we got to hit this top of the hour break. But before we do that, let me remind you about our friends over at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy, founded by attorney and professor Adam Lamparello, who you guys see in the chat all the time. Shout out to Adam. Lamparello Law works with high school, college, and graduate students on academic and career success, providing mentoring, exam and test taking preparation, subject matter mastery, application strategy, personal statements, resumes, and long-term academic and professional planning. Adam also provides legal representation for students, faculty, and athletes in academic misconduct matters, First Amendment cases, name, image, and likeness issues, and all criminal defense matters. Known for representing his clients with genuine care, passion, and relentless advocacy. If you want serious guidance, strong representation from somebody who truly has your back, contact Lamparello Law, 201-317-5115. Email Adam at lamparello-law.com or visit the brand new website that is being finalized, lamparello-law.com, the official legal representation of the Miller's Edge. It's got a ring to it, man. I love it. All right, we got to hit this top hour break when we come back. We keep on rolling. Going to the phone lines too, 205-342-9904. Right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
TBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG.
Mature, not experienced. Oh yeah, you did. You said mature. Yeah, I mean maybe, but like I said, I mean he's older, but he doesn't have a whole bunch of from what I gathered. I mean, I don't think he's played a whole bunch, but I get your point. I get your point. And if that's why they opted for that route instead of high school, yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I just don't know how much of like that like veteran role he's gonna have. Does that make sense? Like, because I just view it as, I mean, you got a guy like Daniel Hill who's what, a third year guy himself and actually played a number of snaps. To me, I mean, he would be above the pecking order than that guy, you know. Um, Wait, hold on. What did I miss? Y'all were talking about something with oh, you got way too many quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, tight ends. How many quarterbacks do we have? What would we have? Five? Two freshmen. Wait, got Keelan Ostermack and the two incoming freshmen. We have four or five. I think I'm counting four. Who's the fifth? Yeah, you definitely need. I mean, yeah, 9 SEC games. You need some depth for sure. Yeah, how many receivers are we at right now? I can't. I don't even remember the latest on that. I think Clint broke down that. I think Courtney Morgan's doing a good job. Yo, Six, what's up, man? It's been a while. I don't think we have 105 guys right now. Yeah, pass pro is definitely tough to learn, but just the system as a whole, man. I'm just telling you guys, like this offense is a very complicated offense. Like it really is. The running backs on the roster last year couldn't block either. No, they did struggle 100%. And it kind of proves my point that I mean it's so you're expecting a young guy to come in if the experienced guys were struggling. I mean, I don't know, man. Don't really. But and it's not only about run blocking, by the way. That's not the only thing. I'm just giving that as an example because I think some people just think, oh, it's a running back. Oh, if he can run the ball, you just throw him in there. But I'm just telling you, like, if you ask actual college coaches or people with like knowledge of college systems, they'll tell you, um, it's not as simple as just like plugging a guy in there. That was my point. I'm not saying you guys don't know that, but I think a lot of people have the misconception that you just put these people on the field and they just magically go do whatever they're they're doing in high school, and it just doesn't work like that in college. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. I was trying to catch up on some of these chats that we have in here. We were talking about the running back position again. Alabama added a running back via the portal, Khalifa Keith. I know a lot of people, some mixed reactions on that. Again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but at the end of the day, you need bodies, you need guys that can come in there and just have a presence, whether it's practice purposes, depth purposes. I think it just makes sense. I mean, I know a lot of people are still hoping we could probably add somebody with that explosive ability, somebody that maybe could mirror what you would have gotten out of a guy like Smothers or was it Brown, other guy's last name that we were looking at. But at the end of the day, there's only so many guys in the portal. Pretty much all those guys that are quality guys at this point are gone. So you only have two choices. Some of these players, kind of like a Khalifa Keith, that is not the most highly sought after player, but he's got a little bit of experience. He's an older player and somebody that you can use as a quality depth piece, or you can take the high school route. If there's any high school players that are still hanging around, you still got signing day, the the official signing day coming up, even though it's pretty much useless at this point. So you just got to find a way to fill those holes, and you got pretty much two options to do that. But neither of them are going to give you some big home run like maybe some fans would hope. But at the end of the day, what I've gathered is that this staff is uh, happy with a number of the guys that they brought in. They feel that they can come in and contribute and help fill some holes that we had. Then also, they're really high on a lot of the younger players that we already had. To me, that's evident, especially if you look at linebacker. To me, I thought adding a true Mike linebacker should have been like one of the top priorities. I think it would have been a huge addition for our defense, something almost necessary. But we didn't do that. We had a Caleb Woodson, who to me is more of that weak side backer, definitely a very athletic player, probably going to fit the bill more of a guy like Justin Jefferson. And I think, a matter of fact, that's probably who he would probably not say not model his game after, but you get what I'm saying. Maybe if you had to compare somebody on last year's team who he might end up kind of playing like, I think that's a similar type deal, and it's probably a decent comparison. But in terms of that Mike backer spot, it's probably going to be one of the young guys that we already have. I know they like Luke Metz. I can see him maybe filling that void. QB Reese a good player, but he's just a little small. But we'll have to see. But that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But spring will tell us a lot more. I keep saying that, and I'll say it time and time again. Spring will tell us a lot more, kind of where they see players fit. Matter of fact, here's a good example. Shout out to my guy Jamie Mosley, man. Again, he got the job at Stanford, took off today for his new journey, man. Super proud of that dude, man. I mean, no one more deserving than him. But the reason I bring that up is he posted a picture with his D-line unit, and it had the Bandits and the D-linemen in the picture. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I didn't see Zulu in that picture, which to me indicates that they, as of now, have him playing Wolf, or at least working with the Wolves. Because again, the Bandits were in that picture, the D line were in the picture, but there was no Wolves in that picture, and I didn't see Zulu. So sounds like that's where they're going to end up playing him. But anyway, spring will tell us more of those answers, though, exactly where they have these guys. In terms, at least for the spring, things can change, right? Latham, who just got his seventh year back, he initially played Bandit, then he moved to Wolf. We'll have to see. Might be moved back to Bandit. I didn't see him in that picture either. But who knows? Anyway, let me start talking. Let's get to the phone lines. 205-342-9904. We got Smitty up first. Smitty, welcome in.
How's it going, Christian?
It's good, man. How's everything, brother?
Hey, I hit a lick betting against Alabama Saturday. I just knew Florida's going to blow them out. And I had to take my lady to dinner that night, so that helped out. And of course, she started looking at the seafood tower. I'm just saying. But, you know.
Hold on. For somebody that's always trying to be as pro Alabama as possible, and you I'm referring to, you bet against Alabama? That seems a little criminal, man. You allowed to do that? Legally, you can do that, but I'm saying morally, are you supposed to do that, Smitty? Come on, man.
To quote Nino Brown from New Jack City, any person knows business.
I'm just messing. I ain't mad at you. Make your money, brother.
Hey, you know how it is. But one, like with the basketball, right? Until Nate Oates embraces big men playing like big men, not standing in the corner and getting out of the way for the guard to drive to the paint, he's going to have a hard ceiling. Look at Florida's bigs. I don't think any of those bigs are going to be big NBA players. But look how they play in college. They're in the paint. They're doing things. They, rebounding, scoring in the post. Because the thing is, in sport, sometimes you need a rhythm. Just chucking up threes all the time, say, F it, one of them's going to go in. That doesn't get you in a rhythm sometimes. It also creates long rebounds. And that if your bigs aren't in the paint sometimes, it can create run-outs to other teams. And sometimes you just need to get a mid-range bucket or dump it to a big man to create a double team and kick it out to a three-point shooter. As you can tell, I'm a big NBA guy. Even though my Bulls stink, but I'm an NBA guy. But in that Mari Bailey kid, I found out about him when Drake took his mom on a date to Dodger Stadium and ran out the stadium. That's how I do it.
Oh, wait, that's who that is. That's so he played with Bronny, right? Or something like that?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, with the G League, none of this would be happening if there was an unregulated NIL. Because NIL, these guys are getting paid more NIL than they are in the G League, to be being honest.
Yeah, no, I think G League, I think a lot of them are only making like $30,000-$40,000. Now, I mean, I'm sure there's some making more than that, but I think like on average, a lot of those guys aren't making much more than that. But that leads to my thing. Like when Bediako decided to leave, NIL was a thing. Now, granted, 2 years ago or 3 years ago at this point, the values were completely different. Like nowadays, these dudes at basketball are getting paid. Like I understand that, but still, like I'm like, that's something that you should be considering, man. Like I don't know. I don't know.
The guy can't shoot past 5 feet and 47% for the free throw line. Who in the world said, "Hey, son, go to the NBA"? But when it comes to football, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes what people gotta understand is some of these former players, not you, because you're the only one that spoke about team building. A lot of people don't understand the concept of team building. You're not getting a superstar player at this point in the portal cycle. You're not. You're just trying to get guys, like you said, the rules. People got to understand the new rules. You need bodies because there ain't no more walk-ons because some of those guys going to cycle out, and after that, you got everybody on scholarship. But you still need bodies because you remember this, Bryce Young's first year starting, all those injuries that running back, they were down to Brian Robinson. They had to make Christian Leary a running back because it was out of bodies because everybody got hurt. And I remember Chase McClellan tore his knee up early. They expected big things with him. So you need bodies. You got to fill the practice squad. You got to have people that are practice. And guess what? Some of these guys, if they want to be here and they know their role, because you know this, coaches are going to tell you what your role is, what they see you as. It's up to you to sign the contract. And if they being real with you about that, cool. Because who knows? Maybe you get your number called and you show up because Marquise May was an undersized 3-star receiver. He developed and he had a cup of coffee in the NFL. And I ain't knocking a cup of coffee because it's hard to make a practice squad, much less a team. You know what I'm saying? So I just want fans to understand. These guys, like some of these young players they may take their lumps. And they're not just going to add somebody just for the sake of adding them to calm down people. And by the way, hey, people, you're more than welcome to donate some money. Also, you help out if you got everything to say, you know. I'm big on that because, hey, I think they're doing the right thing because you can't keep portaling over all these guys because you could lose these guys like that Mississippi State left tackle. And I'll say this thing also, Christian. How mad were those people when Nick Saban had to bring in Tyler Steen for Vanderbilt to play left tackle because he didn't have one? Oh, guess what, people? Tyler Steen's still in the NFL. You know?
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people dog that choice from Saban. But I'm like, let's just see what happens. You know, he's a veteran. Let's see what happens. He still had to get it. Vanderbilt was still a D1 scholarship. And guess what? He had a good year. He's still in the NFL now. Maybe these coaches know more than some of these people. I'm not talking about young, speaking in general right here, that people just yapping and yapping. Because you can't keep bringing in every superstar. This ain't a video game.
Right.
Folks are going to want their touches and folks will leave. And you don't got so much money to go around, Christian, also.
True. No, you're right. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, to be fair, you're 100% right. There are people that just they see the name, they Google the name, they go look at the rating or the ranking or maybe just limited production. They immediately just form an opinion. They just start, kind of going down the whole negative trail, which is, I mean, that's their right, but I don't agree with that. Then I also think there's some people too that make it seem like there can be no wrong done or you can't miss on somebody. And I don't think that's right either. I think that's just people just wearing, crimson glasses that don't want to hear honesty. That's why my goal is just to try to just be fair, but I'm going to be honest. And I'll say this, like you said, I mean, roster management is definitely a thing. You need bodies. You got to have players. I explained that even like the practice layouts. I don't know if people really understand that's how practice works, but you separate and you have to have a scout team. If not, like I gave the example, if you only had 5 scholarship running backs and 2 guys during the season are injured, that leaves you with 3 running backs on your roster. Those 3 guys need all the reps for the game. They need the game reps, meaning not game reps, but like the practice reps with the game plan to go play in the game. So then who does that leave you to go play on the scout team? So you need bodies, right? That's every position. Wide receiver, 2 deep when you're running a lot of 11 personnel, it's already 6 players. Who's left to go on the scout team? You get what I'm saying? So the numbers are important. That said, I will say, I mean, to be completely honest, because again, I watch tape. I'm not going off ratings. There's been a couple guys that we've added that I might not have been the highest on, but at the end of the day, they might have a different plan than what I'm seeing. I mean, like they have their system that they plan on utilizing these guys for, just like some of the guys like on the defensive line. When I was looking at some of the tape, like initially I'm like, I just don't know. I mean, if we're talking about wanting to get back to being a physically dominant group, I just don't know about this move. But then when you start looking at the freshman they brought in who's 6'6", then Devin Tompkins who's like 6'5". I mean, Green has a lot of length. Maybe they're valuing length and they have a plan for that. And again, I'm not saying that plan is going to be the best plan or it's going to be a bad plan. I don't know how it's necessarily going to work out, but it clearly is a little bit different of a direction maybe than what I initially kind of was thinking that they would go or what would be ideal. But again, at the end of the day, they get paid to make those decisions, and we just got to, wait and see because nobody knows. Even if you watch tape like I do, you still you don't know how it's going to pan out. But you can kind of get and give ideas, I guess. And I always say, like, yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's still concerns on my end at a few spots on this team, a number of spots comparing it to other teams. Like I remember we were talking about other teams last week. I went back and looked at some guys that Georgia was returning or bringing in, and even Texas. I'm not gonna lie. I view their rosters a little bit more. I don't know. I guess not necessarily complete, but you have a little bit more confidence in some of the guys that they're bringing back or bringing in, just because we got so much youth. But at the end of the day, we don't know until these guys go out there and play. Because I mean, there's teams that have a lot of talent and rosters that are filled with 5 stars and big names, and they don't go on to accomplish much. And there's other teams that don't. But I will say this though. But I will say this though. When I see the example where people just go, oh well, like our Alabama fans will see us not bring in somebody that has a huge name, and they immediately go, well, look what Indiana did. I'm just like, I don't like that we're using that example because what Indiana did is not some. It's not everybody just going to be able to go bring in a team of guys that weren't super well known and just go on a 16-0 run like that. That's not a common thing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I keep trying to make an emphasis on the coaching that they had, the culture that they had, the attention to detail, the physicality that they played with. I mean, the lack of mistakes, right? The lack of mental errors. That's not a common thing. And a matter of fact, speaking of them, I reached out to my one of my best friends from high school, who's their running backs coach, and he's going to talk to their media department to see if they'll let him hop on the show, and that way he can talk about what they've done over there. But the other thing about that too is people. I think people, it comes from a lack of really knowing who JMU is. JMU won national championships on their level, like multiple national championships, while I was in school. Matter of fact, he was the running back there while they were doing it. So when people are just like, "Oh, they
Yep.
brought these guys from JMU," I'm like, these aren't like no name guys. That like JMU was like on their level, like they were dominating. So, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you gotta I just don't like when people make that a comparison, like, "Oh, Indiana did it with guys that whatever. Oh, we're gonna do that too." I'm just like, there's no guarantee anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You like
You know
you
what,
hope
Christian?
that's the case, but again, in order for that to happen, you have to have, I mean, elite coaching, culture, system, scheme, I mean, all that stuff. Go ahead.
And you know, I say this. And those players, a lot of those players were with Cincinnati from jump. I'm
Yeah,
talking about
exactly.
jump.
They came
Together.
from they came with him. Yeah, so they're within his system. Exactly. That's another good point.
Yeah. So they ain't just plucking these guys. And guess what Cincinnati's doing now? He's trying to recruit. There's a 5-star receiver that's from Alabama but lives in Indiana. He's Alabama's top competition for that kid. Oh, so he ain't trying to go back to the D2, the FCS route either. I just think that people have to understand some things are just lightning in a bottle, a one-time thing. They did a great job. And and like you said with Texas and Georgia, Texas had a really young offensive line last year because they lost 4 or 5 the year before. And so some of those guys who may have stayed may have gotten a year experience taking their lumps. Still got questions about the quarterback. Same with Georgia. They had young guys that took their lumps. Because Georgia is also in the we go put our money into high school recruiting and retaining and developing. They just got a year or two head start on Alabama because Kirby's been there. And like I say this one last thing, talking about the running backs. I'm not going to pencil in EJ Crow to start immediately because that it's not just running the ball. You got to know pass protection as well. And we saw why AK didn't get much run because the SC Championship game, he had no one to play. You know, when Tyler the hand off, he went the other way.
That's what I was trying to explain. Like I think people they think it's as simple as that. I wish it was, but like, I mean, there's a reason a lot of those young guys don't see the field very often unless they're just really far along. I mean, like Xavier and Brown and some of these other guys, like if you go talk to them, like when you hear coaches raving about, man, that guy's already mature. It's like, oh man, that guy's wearing dad jeans or whatever. No, they're saying like the way he can pick up the system and understand, like,
yeah,
dude, I'm just telling you that transition is not easy. Like, it took me a while, not that, not to sound like a tool, but I'd say I'm a pretty smart person. It took me a long time to really feel comfortable and confident with knowing what the hell I was doing out there. I mean, it was foreign. It felt like I learned Spanish. It felt just like that almost. So I mean, it's going to be an adjustment period, and as quick as these guys can pick it up. But one thing I do know is, I mean, the offense that Coach DeBoer and company have up there it's a complicated offense. Like if I talked to Ty, I reached out to Ty last week. He's going to try to jump on here when he frees up. I'll ask him. I'm telling you right now, offense that we run is not easy, man. It is very complicated, and I think this is one thing that you got to remember when it comes to young players.
Hey, but thanks for taking my call, Christian. You guys have a good one.
Always, yeah, yes, sir. Appreciate you, Smitty. Good deal. All right, let's hit a timeout. Stay on schedule. We come back. We go back to the phone lines. We got Joe. We got Jared. And man, I forgot to tell him, man. We had the Royal Rumble this weekend. Chase, another big wrestling fan, but shout out to our guy Obafemi, aka, well, no, he is aka Oba. Anyway, Oba, we'll just stick with his ring name. Oba, again, graduate from here on the track and field team several years ago, and now he's number one entrant in the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble. I think he had like the same number of eliminations as Brock Lesnar. I don't know. I'm excited about his future. Anyway, we got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we keep on rolling Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
Hey guys, are you ready to
Most of Indiana players came from JMU with the coach, weren't really like fresh faces. 100%. Like, and that's the other point that I just try to make when I see some of our fans like, oh, Jay, look at Indiana. And I'm like, well, I just don't like us using that as a comparison because that's like a very different situation. I mean, like he brought most of those guys with him, so they were already within his system. And like I said, they were like dominating at JMU. To be fair, Saban had one of the most complex college defense. Yeah, I mean, I think I would know better than anybody, right? I mean, I was in it 5 years, but that's why and I'm so, confident in what I'm saying about that transition period because I mean, I've experienced it firsthand, even though that was defense. I'm not saying you couldn't do it again. Minka, um, trying to think of other like true freshmen that came, like Pat Surtain played a lot. Um, but like my freshman year, the only guys that really played meaningful snaps defensively would have been Deshaun Ham was in the rotation a little bit, but D line is the easiest position to like to learn. You know what I mean? Like there's not much. I want to say not much. There's a lot that goes into it, but compared to everything else, um, I'm talking about defensive side. Kool Aid, yeah. Bama boy is exactly what his name says, man. Bama boy's got he's got his glasses on because anything we say that is not like super positive, he don't he goes after it, um but I get it. I respect it, man. I respect it. But speaking of Crowell, they ended up naming him number one running back. Yeah, Caleb Downs. There we go. That's who I was thinking of. After reclassifying. And to be clear, like I said, I'm not saying he's not going to play as a freshman. I'm not saying I told you I like him a lot. To me, I think he has the highest ceiling out of any of those backs. I'm just saying I would be like not hesitant, but I would be patient in terms of like expecting him to like some people I think is go, oh, he's number one running back at high school. He's going to be 1,000-yard rusher next season. I'm just saying I'd be a little patient just because knowing there's going to be a little bit of a transition, and you got to learn the system. If you don't know the system, you're not going to play as much. That's just a fact. And that was one of the things that kept AK off the field. I mean, and you saw it when he got the opportunity. I mean, that's you just go back and watch the game, and you could just tell he didn't really. Adam, what's up? We got Adam in here. TJ Yeldon was awesome, so physical. Man, TJ was a dog, man. I got here in 2014. Was that TJ's last year? Yeah, it was. That was TJ's last year before he went on to the league. But yeah, he was a specimen, man. TJ was like 6'2", probably 225, 220. But I mean, like TJ was a dog, man. Um, damn good player. And I remember that, Adam. I was watching that game when I was in high school. It was a screen. AJ threw that screen to him. Jeremy, what's up? Let's see where we're at on our likes real quick. Let's go. We're at 45. Let's see if we can get up to 60. Um, Matter of fact, let's pull up. What is it? Does he go by EJ Crowell? Xavier is no X. Nah, he's definitely a dog, man. Like I think he'll be in that running, especially given on how our guys performed last season. Um, he's going to be competing. Like I said, I just think for him the biggest thing is just going to be picking up the system. The quicker he can do that, the quicker he's going to see the field. I just like how he runs, man. And these are from his sophomore year. I mean, he's only a sophomore in this. But I'm also smart enough to know, man. I mean, you gotta be patient with some of these guys. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hold on, let me respond on one thing real quick, by the way. To our guy Bama Boy in here, he's every bit of his name. By the way, you said Deontay Lawson was extremely small. Brother, I don't know which. I mean, Deontay Lawson's like 6'2", 6'3". I mean, he dropped down to maybe like 230, but he also at one point was like 240, bro. That is not small. So maybe you're looking at somebody else, or maybe you're just going off of what you see on TV. But when you said he's extremely small, like I don't know where you're going with that one. I can't. I don't. I'm confused on that one. You got to explain that one a little bit further. 205-342-9904. We got Super Joe up next. Super Joe, welcome in.
Hey, what's going on? How you feeling, man?
Nothing much, man. How's everything?
Man, I'll tell you what, I was just kicking the day here at National Signing Day. You know, I always take off on National Signing Day. You know, I do that just about almost every year.
You want to do that this year, though? It's a little bit different nowadays. I feel like the main one was when was in December. I mean, are we even going to sign anybody this next one?
They probably
Well, I guess
be...
those new guys that we just picked up those commitments from, the recent ones.
Yeah, what we look ranked for number 2.
You talking about recruiting class?
Yeah.
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I want to say it was at least top 5.
Yeah, cause I know, like I remember when a long time ago. Like I remember when I like, okay, we used to have to go. We used to have to write down our vacation days what we wanted, right? And then one day I thought nobody saw what I was gonna do coming. But what happened was I wrote down the first when I put my name on the first one in February. The lead man. Okay, kind of like had a little hissy fit and kind of jumped up. Oh dang it! So let me put my name down there. So you did that because National Signing Day, dunna, and I don't want to quote the exact word, but and then but see his thing was he's out. He wanted to take off that day too, so he put his name right above mine. So don't you know there's a lot of people that got more seniority than you got. What did he care? He's taking off that day. He didn't care nothing about a write up. I said, hey, because National Signing Day was like a thing back in those days. I was so excited about it. But I mean, I'll tell you what, even when Alabama was playing in the national championship, like, okay, I was working day shift. I went to I clocked out at 11 o'clock, which that was a half a day for me. Went in there and just got in the bathroom, changed in that white jersey and crimson, crimson outfit. I went on changed up. But I'll tell you what though, because it's different right now. But I'm gonna say like this, I mean, we getting the right guys that we get. But one thing I believe like this, okay, with far as the college football, now I believe that like this though. I believe this is gonna be probably the year that Kevin the boys gonna probably have Alabama getting really, really back to where they need to be. I mean, you got to look at it. It took Saban 3 years. It took Coach Brian 4. I mean, let's go ahead and be honest with you. I know we upset the way we lost to Indiana, but shoot, I know we looked at them as a basketball school, but in real, I still believe that Alabama's still going to peak his way up there. But I'm be honest with you, after about 2 or 3 more years, I don't think Kellen the boy going to take all this pressure. I really don't think he is.
I mean, look, I think you just got to be, patient still. I mean, we've only had 2 years, and I can give you reasons to be very confident moving forward, and I can also give you reasons to have some concerns. I think both are very valid. I think it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, 100%. It's all improvement from year 1 to year 2. Making the SEC championship game is a big accomplishment, even though we got beat down in it. It still is. It's a big deal. You know what I mean? Especially in a conference that consists of Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, all these quality teams that also made the college football playoffs. Then also we made the college football playoffs ourselves. Won our first round game, went on the road. Then I also see some causes of concern in terms of how we've shown up a number of times throughout the last couple of years, and I think those are also very valid. But at the end of the day, I think you just got to be patient, kind of see how year 3 ends up looking. To me, I mean, I feel like they're kind of working towards being, I guess, making it even more of their own. I mean, I think there's hardly any guys left over from Coach Saban at this point. So now we're kind of in that world where it seems like Coach DeBoer's got a lot more of his guys, He's got, a couple more, I guess, guys on his staff. Ryan Grubb, that was the first year back last year. You got a new offensive line coach. So I would say over the next year or two, going to probably get to a point where it's like, I wouldn't say there's no more built-in excuses, but I think after next season, then even the fourth year, there's no more of those. Well, the players or the coach, you know what I mean? Like I think you'll really have a better idea on what his product is completely. So I think you just got to be patient until we have a little bit more to go off of. But yeah, we'll have to see, man.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, different era and stuff like that. So, and we got to go just try to be optimistic. A lot of us fans are being pessimistic because, I mean, I know where we got killed against Indiana. I know the way we got slaughtered, but let's be mindful too, though. That transfer portal and stuff, that NIL deal has changed the whole. It put a different. Okay, what can I say? Season in the spaghetti. I mean, it just damn. Those are two things that change. I mean, yeah, look, a lot of stuff has changed, but if it was still, I believe, the old-fashioned way, which I wish we would get back to the old-fashioned way, because these players got too much luxury. I mean, just NIL dealer transfer portal. We actually don't spoil these kids. We have made a bunch of overprivileged kids, because I remember there was a time you may be allowed to transfer one time, but then like in times before that, once you made a deal with that one team commitment or sign with, you stuck with it. So, and now these days, these players have like got this mindset now. Boy, if I don't get a chance to play my freshman or sophomore year, if I ain't starting, I'm gone. But back then, it's called wait your turn and take the discipline and wait your damn turn.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, when people bring up the portal, I mean, the portal is available to everybody, right? So we have the ability to use it too. To me, sometimes I feel like that's a little like if you're saying there's more parity, sure, but that just means you got to show that you can coach that much better, right? Because now you're not able to necessarily just stack talent or be more dominant on paper going into these games. Now you've got to go out there and actually do it against other teams that are just as good, some potentially even better. So I think it's all about perspective, how you're looking at it. But at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, you just got to show up and actually do it. The good news is we're recruiting really well. We're bringing in good players. The next step is they got to be developed, and there's been a couple positions, I mean, like offensive line, definitely, hadn't really been playing at the standard that it probably should have been, not even just the last couple of years, but even before that. So hopefully we can find an answer because that's been needing an answer for years now. I'd say probably going back even 4 years, not just the last 2 years with Coach Cap. So hopefully, Coach Clem can make a difference there. I mean, I think there's just a number of things that Alabama needs to just tidy up a little bit, and I think if they can do those things, so again, it's not like we're far out. I mean, again, we just were in the playoffs and SEC championship, so I'm agreeing with you there. But when you look at other teams, like the Georgias, you look at Ole Miss, what they're able to accomplish. You got Lane Kiffin now going to LSU, blank check, they go and get people. I mean, every year you're going to be playing good quality teams, and you just have to be that much better, not just from your roster standpoint, which is important, but even just schematically from a coaching standpoint. And I think that's where, when you mentioned pessimistic fans, I think those concerns come in there because it's like, all right, well, we've had some showings where it wasn't necessarily about talent and roster because we had a pretty talented roster. It looked a little bit more like it had to do with coaching, development, or lack of in certain positions or areas. A running game that was completely, I mean, at the end of the year, it was abysmal. I mean, the last 3 games, we had like 40 rushing yards over 3 games. Those are just things that, without a doubt, are concerning. So, I mean, like I said, I see both sides of it, but got a new year coming up, and we'll have to see how it goes. But Super Joe, we got to hit this next time out to stay on schedule, man. It's good to hear from you, man. I'm glad everything's going well, and yeah, we'll see about this next signing day. Definitely not going to be as much action just because we all know that the new one is in December, but we'll see kind of, I guess, how everything finalizes. But have a great rest of your day, man.
Take care, man.
Yes, sir. Take it easy. All right, we got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling. 205-342-9904 is the number. Up next, we got Jared in Houston, and then I think we're open after that if you guys want to jump in on the conversation. Or you can always come hang out on the stream at The Miller's Edge on YouTube, at Ty 100.9 on Facebook, streaming live daily. However, we do the show. You guys can interact in the chat, ask questions, do all that good stuff right here on The Miller's Edge, Ty 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back. I think we just watched his freshman highlights, man. That was impressive, man. As a freshman, that dude He can play. I'm excited about him. Like I said, I think his ability to pick up the system will be one of the biggest hurdles for me. We know the talent's there. The talent's definitely there. I'm excited to see him. I want to say he should be here, right? Did he early enroll or no? Let's look it up. I'm not even 100% sure right now. I can't remember if he early enrolled or not. I feel like he did, but maybe he didn't. 28 total yards. Yeah. So when you take in like the whole sack losses and all that. Come on, Adam. Don't do that to me. I hate that game. I hate that game, man. The Citadel game, that was my senior year. I hated that game, man. I'm just gonna be straight up. Nobody wanted to play that game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's there too, Superfly. I hated that game. No one wanted to play them because, like, on tape, just like all they did was cut. They did a whole bunch of cut blocking, and it just was annoying, man. Like, it was just so annoying. Like, I had that one play. That dude literally, he like tackled me. Then he tried to get up. Like he did. He literally, like, I kid you not. I've never in my life had that happen. He like there's a running back, this little running back. He was like a midget. He literally tackled my ankle. And I'm like I'm literally just trying to just like 'cause normally, because people can't grab you like that. So I'm thinking somebody goes your legs. We're taught, you know what I mean? Like you do the drill in the medicine ball, like, you know, basically like punch their back in the dirt, whatever. But I guess I just wasn't really paying attention to him because I'm just trying to go make a play, and I just see this little dude diving at my leg. So I'm thinking I'm just like throwing him off. But he like grabbed my ankle and he just started like literally like trying to tackle me. And I'm like falling because I'm like on one leg, like hopping. And he finally gets me to fall. And I immediately get up. I like ripped his helmet off, man. Oh man, I did. And I just remember there's literally a picture of this dude. Uh, like I don't know. He like got up trying to flex or something crazy. I'm just looking at him like, bro, you are a clown, bro. You're a clown, man. No, it definitely should have been a penalty. I don't know if you guys know this, but like each week coaches send in um basically, I guess, like a list of penalties that they feel like should have been called in the game. They send it to the SEC offices. Yeah, Jeremy. I mean, he would literally like I kid you, he grabbed my ankle and was literally like he was like trying to not trying, he tackled me. And the ref just said, I remember the ref just sitting there watching me. I was cussing the ref out because this dude, he's like celebrating and like I'm like, what the hell is wrong? Like, these dudes, man. I'm like, the only thing saving them was I got respect for the military and stuff like that. I'm like, I think they're like a military school. I'm not going to try to get on them too much. And then what's crazy was one of their coaches like took a clip and was like, "This is a 5'10" some what did he say? Handling a 6'4", 240-pound Alabama linebacker. This is Citadel football because he literally tackled my ankle as a blocker. Like, I'm like, bro, these people are clowns, man. They about made me have to like disrespect people in the armed services, which I would never do. Which I don't think they're officially in it. I think they're just at a military school. But boy, I hate that school, man. And I don't even use the word hate like that. Nah, I wasn't making any jokes. I didn't do anything, bro. We just were just trying to get through the game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, we just were trying to get through the game, man. No, 100%. And it was crazy. We respected our opponent. It's just like it's hard to like we respected them, but it's just hard. Like the way they play was so different too. I don't think people understand like option football like that. That you like we don't play against that. Like never. You know what I mean? So it was totally different. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Let's keep rolling on the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got Jared in Houston up next. Jared, welcome in.
What's up, Christian? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How's everything going?
Going fine. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the fan reaction to this running back we just pulled in. I'm sitting there looking on Twitter, and I forget who was it, announced it that he was signed, and all these negative comments. Oh, this guy was a 3-star. He didn't play. Blah blah blah. You know, when you talk about these players as a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, my question is, who assigns the stars to these kids? Okay, and once we determine that, then we need to determine, okay, we know that Joe Blow or whoever it is assigned this guy 3 or 4 or 5 stars. What credibility does he have? What kind of who anointed Joe Blow a recruiting expert, a talent evaluating expert? So to me, it just seems like these recruiting services are all a big cash grab. You know, they're all on social for hits, trying to monetize their accounts. They got paywalls behind their websites. It's all a big cash grab. So to me, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christian, but I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in the number of stars the guy has attached to his name.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who's tagging him who's tagging so and so a 5-star. Who is he? What's his credibility? What's his background? Who anointed him a recruiting talent evaluating expert? So I just want to encourage Alabama fans to not pay attention to that as much as you do, and don't judge these kids by a star by their name. We've had some awful good players come through this university that played football here that weren't 5 stars. I think Eddie Jackson was a 3-star, if I'm not mistaken. And this guy was all everything, you know, big time in the NFL, big contract. So, you know, let's just chill a little bit, and let's let our coaches, who have a lot of experience at this, that are getting paid all the money to run these programs, let them evaluate the talent. Because these guys that are assigning stars, if they had credibility, they wouldn't be a recruiting guy. They'd be running a program somewhere getting paid the real money. So let's just chill out a little bit. Let's let our coaches make those decisions. What are your thoughts on that, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I try to be careful saying that because I've said it before, and people take it as like, oh, as a former player, it's like you trying to like, I guess, be condescending towards people that didn't play, and it's not that. I mean, Coach Saban said it himself. I mean, it's just a fact. You know, you don't know exactly who's evaluating these players, and that's why I always tell people I can't even, just like Super Joe's asked, I don't even know where our recruiting ranking is. I don't really care about stars and things like that. I mean, obviously, it grabs your attention initially, and it makes me want to go watch this guy because I want to see why he's rated a 5-star. But I base everything off of what my eyes tell me on tape. You know, whether you're a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star. So I want to be clear. If I'm ever given any type of comment on a player, I'm watching their film. I'm not watching highlights unless I have to. Like some of these high school guys, I have to go off of their highlights, and I just go off of their traits, and I always still leave some room to say that, hey, man, like without me being able to see a full game and see your highlights and lowlights, I can't give a full, accurate, I guess, perspective. But that said, I'm with you. I think people just have to just kind of wait and see kind of how these guys are, because there's going to be some 5-stars like Keon Keeley, everybody. And again, that's my guy. And I'm not using him as an example in a negative way, but I'm just saying, if you went strictly based off of stars, it wouldn't have taken him 3 years to finally start kind of, making a little bit of an impact here. Because I understand that people develop at a different rate, but other people, they just kept saying, "Oh, well, this guy was this come out of high school? Why is he not playing?" And I just know, just like I'm trying to, tell the guy in this chat here that, even like a guy like Crowell, who, I mean, yes, I think
Yeah,
he
we've
has
got to
all
be
the talent in
careful
the
of our
world.
expectations on Crowell. We have to really temper our expectations. I know the guy
Yeah.
was Mr. Football and everything, but he's supposed to be a senior in high school. He's going to be playing college football in a Power 4 conference against the toughest conference in the country. So, yeah, is he a good player? Absolutely. Are we glad to have him? Absolutely. He's from, I used to live in Jackson, so I know all about what's going on down there with him. But we have to temper our expectations. I mean, even guys like Derrick Henry,
Right.
they got to learn to pass block. And Derrick admitted it. He told Saban, he's like, "Hey, man, all they did was toss me the ball and told me to run over people. I don't know nothing about blocking or scheme or nothing." And so we've got to let these guys learn and develop, and we just have to temper our expectations, because even Derrick Henry, he didn't play until late in the season. He didn't get any meaningful reps until late his freshman season. I think Arkansas, he got his first touchdown. He busted along with just a couple minutes left in the game. But and that was like the 9th or 10th game of the year. So we just have to temper our expectations with these guys. And you know what? If Kalen DeBoer likes the guy and he feels like he fits his scheme and fits his offense and wants to bring him in, you know what? He's earned the right to bring the guy in. He's the one getting paid $10 million a year to do it. So let's just chill out a little bit, man. We've got.
You're right. You got the right approach. You just kind of just be patient with these guys and just kind of let them develop and at their pace and kind of see without a doubt, like you said, like you can look at these players. Just like we got highlights of what's the young man's name, the linebacker Xavier Griffin on the screen, and I mean, like you know me, I'm a defensive guy. I'm fired up about. I watch his highlights. I mean, he's
you know what you're looking at, Christian. You played football there for 4 years. You played in the NFL, so you're a professional. So you have some credibility there. So you can. I value what you say about a kid because you've been there and you've done it, you've seen it, you know what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, but even with a guy like this, I mean, I love his tape. I mean, all the tools and traits that he displays and just seeing all the ways that he can be used. But I still just know, he's a little thin right now and needs to put on some weight. So I'm still gonna be patient with it. But I do know, in my opinion, a guy like this, when he does kind of get to that point where he's gotten bigger and stronger and he really can flourish, I think he's going to be one hell of a player. But anyway, that said, I think you got the right approach, man. Just let these guys get here, let them develop, let them go through the spring and just kind of see where. Yeah, and just see where it goes from there. And just, I think what happens is sometimes as fans, there's so many expectations that are put on guys. Then when they're not quite there, it's like the guy's looked at like he's disappointed. But sometimes everybody's at different paces. I mean, there are some freshmen that are ahead of others that can get here and that can play immediately because they're mentally mature and physically they're already ready and they're about as developed as they need to be to get out on the field. And there's other guys like myself that have to get in the weight room and get stronger and bigger first. There's other guys that it takes a little bit longer.
Good coaches recognize the upside. They can recognize the upside. They say, this guy's got the tools. He's a little raw, but there's a lot of upside there. We'll put him, we'll put some weight on him, put some muscle on him. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. Whatever it is they're looking at, and they see the upside. That's what Coach Saban was good about. He was able to see through all the other stuff and he could evaluate talent. So, and I think Kalen DeBoer can too. So we just got to give this man time to put this program together. And, if it doesn't, if in the next couple of years, everything will work itself out, man. You got to give the man an opportunity. And I have confidence that Coach DeBoer is going to do great things at the University of Alabama. Just my opinion.
Yeah, no, listen, I think he's shown. I mean, he can run a successful program. I think it's going to look a little bit different than what some people might expect or think of when they think of Alabama. That's just a fact. But I think the biggest thing for him really is at this point, it's to me, it's more so for him. It's not because he's accomplished a lot. It's more of like the inner workings, right? When you really strip it apart, you look at some of our performances. If you can find a way to limit, those performances where we show up and we look a little flat, we don't have that physicality. Those are his biggest challenges. I don't think people doubt him as a leader of in terms of winning games on the front of from X's and O's and things like that necessarily. I mean, he's a smart football coach, offensive minded guy, but I think what it boils down to is when you really gut it and you're looking at the performances themselves. Those are those kind of intangible things that sometimes aren't quite where people would like them to be. I think those are his biggest challenges. And I think if he can fix those things, I mean, I think everything can work out really well. But that's definitely a challenge that they're going to be fighting this offseason, trying to build that identity, which to me, I think mentality and identity were things that we lacked a little bit last year. And they just got to find a way to establish that. And maybe with more time, that improves. And hopefully that's the case. But Jared, really good stuff, man. Appreciate you calling in, man. Good to hear from you.
You betcha, brother. Roll Tide, man. Good talking to you.
Yes, sir. Always. Roll Tide. All right, we got to hit a quick timeout. We come back. We wrap up our last segment on radio and might stay on the stream a little bit. We'll see right here on the Miller's Edge Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
The Tuscaloosa.
Got a super chat from Adam. Adam is, I say this every day, man. Adam's insane, man. Adam's insane. He keeps going, man. He keeps going. Shout out to Adam, seriously, man. Adam says, Christian, in 2017 and 18 against Tennessee, I watched as you guys massacred Tennessee, Garantano, Matter of fact, I think he's covering like college football right now, man. I need to try to get him on the show. That defense was scary and explosive off the ball. Do you think we can get back to that standard? Man, we definitely had some dudes, man. 2017, we were banged up a lot of the year. I mean, myself included, but we definitely had a number of good players that season. But you're right, though. But 2018, I'd argue 2018 was probably even better in terms of the talent that we had. And it's a shame that we didn't. We should have went under. We should have beat Clemson in the championship game. We should have had a whole undefeated season that year. But in terms of kind of getting back to that defensively, I think that's tough, honestly, Adam. Just because you're talking about a team littered with guys that, I mean, matter of fact, let me just pull up 2018's depth chart. I mean, off the top of my head, I can tell you, defensive line wise, you had Quinnen Williams, Isaiah Buggs, who had like 9 sacks from a defensive tackle position. Quinnen had like 7 or 8. So you're talking about probably like 15, 16, 17 sacks just between 2 of our D tackles. Raekwon Davis. Dang, I'm drawing a blank on man. I'm drawing a blank. I think Big Phil was like a freshman maybe that year, but why am I drawing a blank on his name, man? LeBron Ray. You had LeBron Ray, who was a former 5-star that moved him to D tackle. Matter of fact, he's still playing with the Panthers right now. You had me, Anthony. Terrell was hurt that season. You had Jamie Mosley. Trying to think of who's our other outside backer. We only really played the older guys that young. We didn't really play a lot of the younger outside backers that we had, but still, I had 9 or so sacks. Anthony had maybe like 5 or 6. So, I mean, like, you're talking about, a group we got after it up front. I don't know what our averages were against the run, but I know we were damn good at stopping the run. Linebacker play was solid that year. We had Dylan Moses and Mac Wilson, kind of quiet guys at linebacker. They were hitting stuff, but I remember it was always, man, it'd be like pulling teeth trying to get those guys to communicate because they were younger. So I had to help them out a good bit, but really good players. Then our secondary, you had Minka, you had Diggs, Xavier McKinney, Patrick Surtain, I think Shaheem Carter. Man, you just had a bunch of dudes, But in terms of getting back to that, I just think, like, let's start with the front seven, Adam. I just think that front seven that I just named, and you compare it to like our front seven right now, I just respectfully, those are like big shoes to fill. I wouldn't even want to put those expectations or that type of pressure on those guys. So from that perspective, to answer your question, make a long story short, I don't necessarily see us getting back to like that level of play, so to speak, because I think they do it in their way, just like last season. The numbers were definitely pretty solid, but it just looks different, But they force turnovers. They do a good job of that. That's kind of their identity, just a little inconsistent, not always the most physical when it comes to being like, the guys up front in the front seven, but I think we have a chance to be a good defense, but I think we have a lot of question marks right now. And specifically at the defensive line, it really just front seven, even the linebackers. There's a lot of new faces. Only guys really returning would be like London Simmons, some of the guys that were some rotational pieces, and then all new linebackers. So I think it's just hard for me to tell, but hold on, let me get back to this real quick. Got to close this up. And welcome back into this Monday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Digger is going to be so mad at me because he called in. He did call in late. It's not my fault. He called in late. And I wanted to squeeze him on here, but I just can't. He called in like literally like 6-7 minutes ago. So Digger, call in tomorrow. It's a Talking Tuesday. And I promise, just call in early. I'll get you on here and let you talk. But unfortunately, I got to close out. I can't do it to Wyatt like that. I can't run over. I've been pushed against the time. So unfortunately, I got to close out on radio. I'm going to stick on the stream for a few minutes real quick before we get out of here. But before we do that, I got to remind you about our friends over at R&R Cigars. If you're looking for a place to go watch any of your favorite sporting events, basketball, you got baseball season, softball coming up, all that good stuff. And of course, football season, man. Look no further than R&R Cigars, 2703 Gary Fitz Street, Big Mansion. You can't miss it. They got the best humidor in the Southeast, plus over 160 bourbons right there on tap for you to try. Drink responsibly. And you can always go on their website if you're out of town or if you're not local, no worries. rnrcigars.com, code Miller's Edge should still be active. Get you a nice discount there and order all that good stuff that they have on that website right there at R&R Cigars. That is R&R Cigars, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. That'll do it for us on the radio side of things. We'll be back tomorrow on the Talking Tuesday edition. Clint Lamb at the top of the hour will join us right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
You've been listening to
Let's see. Wait, Garantano went to your high school? That's crazy. But no, to basically finish up what I was saying, I don't think we have the guys on our roster to replicate some of those defenses that you're talking about. If I'm just being completely honest with you, I just don't. I mean, me and my dad have kind of made that comment over the last few years. I think there's talent is dispersed nowadays, and I think you can have good units, but yeah, I don't know. But I'll never say never, because you look at Indiana and what they were able to do defensively, and I would argue, I mean, their success defensively this year probably was pretty close to, in terms of statistically, I'm pretty sure they led the nation in sacks. They're damn good against stopping the run. They were one of the best teams in third down, red zone. I mean, they were atop of almost every statistic, and they didn't have a bunch of, big names or, prospects like we did. So I'm not saying you can't have it, but I always go back to when I talk about Indiana. They make up for it by having one of the best systems. Their coaching staff does a phenomenal job of putting all their guys in position to make plays. They don't make mistakes. So, it's easier said than done, right? Definitely easier said than done. But yes, I don't know if I would probably maybe like Jared said, temper the expectations at him. But I think but we still can be a good defense. I just don't, comparing it to some of those defense, I just don't think it's fair to those guys. Because I mean, like, when you have guys like Quinnen Williams, Bugs, and Raekwon, all tackle spots, and you got Terrell, Anthony, myself, and I mean, like, just all there's just a lot of production. I mean, there's a production across the board, man. So, but I don't know. I mean, so I always say, I mean, I think like their motive, even with the whole like Bama standard thing, I think we got to like pump the brakes on saying that stuff. So, because it's just different now. I'm just gonna be honest with you, like the culture in the building now. I mean, it's like there's not as much like stuff from our era, which I mean, it's part of it, right? I mean, it's a whole new staff, it's new wave. Um, so I think they just need to focus on like being their best self. And it's probably gonna look a little bit different just because I just look at the personnel that we have, and I just feel like they don't have the same types of players that we have. But I will say, I mean, seeing that picture Jamie posted with the D line, man, I mean, it is true. I mean, we've gotten bigger and longer, a lot more length up front. I'm intrigued by how that can translate. Hopefully, that ends up translating in a positive for us. But the interesting thing is just a lot of the tape that I saw, like sometimes, you know what I mean? Like there's just different types of players. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. But really, really good question. But in terms of explosivity, man, I mean, just trying to think of, we'll have to see. I mean, yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I mean, London Simmons, I like a lot. Jan Pierre, I like a lot. A lot of the new faces, I have to see them here. I mean, going off of what I saw, what they did previously, um, like some things to like, some things I think they got to get better at. But and the off ball backers, I want to go back and watch like Luke Metz a little bit more, and some of these young linebackers, because that's the direction we're going. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be a young team for sure, man. It's gonna be up to these young guys to really step up. They got opportunities, man. So anybody that complaining about playing time, there ain't gonna be any excuses this year. I mean, there's a lot of spots up for grabs. Saul Seaborn grew up an Alabama fan, said he wants to compete against the best. Don't mind waiting. Yeah, I mean that's the right mindset, man. To me, I think it pays off a lot more. I mean, I know a lot of people just try to jump around. I would argue a lot of guys that bounce around from school to school doesn't necessarily end up working out the way they think. No, 1,000%, Jeremy. We're going to find out. I mean, again, their approach was take guys from the portal that were younger, wanted to be here, developmental guys. So we'll see kind of how that decision plays out. But I'm not saying it's a bad decision. I think it's a little bit more of a risky decision. But I mean, it might work out well. I mean, it might be they get the guys that fit their system well, and all of a sudden this thing takes off. But that's hard for me. That's like the best case scenario, if I'm being honest with you. In today's college football, man, I mean, you need just dudes that can ball. The whole like developing these guys and stuff. Like, I mean, like you still need some of it, but with the portal, man, I mean, it's hard going against teams that are able just to go get these guys that are ready to roll and try to play with young players. I mean, you saw that this past season. That's why I was kind of surprised that was the route we took, given that everything's trending towards getting older, more experienced guys that you can put in your system and really roll. But we'll see, we'll see. Woodson stats at Virginia Tech. I'm not 100% sure. I know he was like a part-time starter. I feel like because there are some games he like was in the rotation, but I don't know if he played like. I'd probably say he played like maybe 50, 60% of their defensive snaps. I'll pull up his stats. I don't even know. That's what I try to tell you guys. I don't know about stars or stats really. I watched his tape. He's a damn good athlete, former DB. I think like I said, I keep comparing him to Justin Jefferson. I think he kind of is going to play a similar role. Athletic backer, uh, very rangy. I think that he's going to be a great athlete, knowing how they let their guys kind of really fly around. I think he's going to fit well. I think he's going to be a good player for us. I'm just concerned about the other linebacker spot because losing your Mike Backer from the past couple of years. I mean, like that guy is like the quarterback of the defense. So right now it's trending. So we're going to be relying on one of our young guys. Not saying they can't do it, but um, that's just a pretty big question mark that you have until you get the season rolling, and you just got to see how it goes. But I mean, I'm sure one of the young guys are going to step up and they'll be all right. But I guess this is the main thing I always go back to. Like, with the standard that we have here, are you guys looking for all right, getting the job done, good enough? Or are you guys looking for dominant, physically imposing, that type of deal? And that's why sometimes it might sound like I would never say, I don't think I sound pessimistic. I don't think I ever do. But I think that's why sometimes it might sound like I don't always have the same level of optimism as others regarding some of these guys because it's not to be negative or it's not to I've heard people say like comments like saving guys or like toxic or something like that. I'm just confused. I'm like, I don't know if everybody's just like lumping Damien's, comments, which I didn't think all of his comments were that bad. There's definitely some that I thought he went a little far, but um, a number of them, I think he was just calling it how it was. And I think you ended up seeing some of that come to fruition, but I don't think anybody's anything. I don't think nobody's being toxic. It's just like the era that we were a part of. Like, I mean, the expectations were like through the roof. And it's just like we hear fans saying like that's what they want. Like on one end, fans are saying that's what they want. They want to see Alabama get back to dominating on the lines of scrimmage. They want to see Alabama running the football, playing physical, making people, fear playing them. And so we come out and we offer comments, or we might make comments on decisions or things that might be happening that don't necessarily align with that. And then we get attacked for making it sound like we're like jealous or not me, because I don't think I've ever had anybody really do that. But I'll see like if any former Bama player says anything that sounds a little critical, that's like the immediate thing, like from the fans' perspective, like it's the Boers thing now. Let them do this, and I'm like, I don't think anybody's like saying it from like a place of malice or anything like that. I think it's just simply. I mean, listen, like we were a part of something that was like special. So I mean, I think we know kind of what what goes into to being a successful team, not just a successful team, but goes into being a team that's dominant, that's physical, that imposes your will. Like, that's just kind of what we were a part of. So anyway, I know that was a little bit of a, I don't know how I went on that soapbox, but big shout out to Adam again, lamparello-law.com. Matter of fact, let's see, did Adam get it finalized yet? Let's see. Let's see if the website's active. Official representation of the Miller's Edge. All right, launching soon. All right, so we have it's about to launch. So y'all just stay tuned for that. Lamparello-law.com. Shout out to our guy Adam. Get back to dominating. Yeah, so that's my thing. So that's why I always ask you guys. So I mean, so that's kind of where like my perspective comes from. Like, is it because here's my thing. I like with what we've done and what like where we're at right now, like we'll be a good team. We'll be a good team. But do we want to be a good team or do we want to be a great team? Do we want to be a team that can make a serious run when it comes down to playing, the I hate to keep using them as examples, but the teams like likes of the Georgias, the Ohio States, the teams that I mean, you're like you see the kind of guys that they're grabbing, not just with recruiting, but also via the portal, and you see kind of how they're able to perform when it gets in that postseason time. I know everybody's going to jump back to Georgia. I get it. They haven't won a postseason game since whatever, but it's not really a flex from coming from us because when was last that we might have won a postseason game, but when was the last time we won a national championship? They've won two, and we haven't won one since 2020. So the defense played fast at times, but last year, but physicality is where he struggled. I'll say this. My word for the defense is inconsistent. I mean, there's sometimes we did look a little physical, and then there's other times we just didn't really have that to us. But I think it's inconsistent is what comes to mind for me because there's sometimes I watch our defense and I'm like, man, like we're getting after it, we're flying around. Um, like I agree though up front, like we haven't had the most dominant dudes up front in a few years, right? And I know everybody puts that on coaching, but I think a lot of it too is we just haven't had the players. We don't have those same dominant players up front. That's a big deal. Um, but the other thing I'll say is too is, when it comes to, our scheme defensively too, you got to understand like guys are playing within the system. So, I've talked about this before. Sometimes it just felt like we haven't always had a true identity on either side of the ball. Offense, we had no identity. We had no identity whatsoever offensively, and that was one of our biggest issues. Defensively, our identity is a little bit better, but sometimes it seemed a little muddy. Just watching the way we played things, like how we played things, you know what I mean? Like when you watch tape and you're kind of seeing our philosophy seem like it's kind of like, one week we're doing this, the next week we're doing a lot of this, and it's kind of like back and forth. Um, if I had to say one thing, I would probably say like I think we need more structure. That would be one of the things I feel like this staff could probably improve on. Would probably be the structure within the system. I feel like there's just a lot going on and not as much structure. Um, and if you guys know like X's and O's, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you might hear that and be like, oh, I mean, what do you mean? But just watching them, just kind of how they play things, is the structure doesn't seem to be the most solid or consistent at times. You don't think Kane's aggressive enough? Well, it's interesting because when he got here last year, it was all about vision based uh, zone defense, and then last season they ran his first year they ran like a whole bunch of man. They didn't disguise very well. I mean, it was pretty like it was obvious. I mean, and sometimes it's hard to disguise man at times, but given because I mean, any motion, people are going to know you're a man. But still, it was almost like, hey, we're single high man coverage, third down, and I'm like, to me as a defensive guy, like if you got dudes, um, if you got good DBs, let them cover, but you have to mix it up still. And then it was this year was like the opposite. We ran a whole bunch of zone and didn't run as much man. The disguise was much better, and we did a lot more this year defensively than we were doing last season. So I did like the evolution that we saw defensively, but then we got to a point where I agree, we weren't running enough man. We needed to mix it up a little bit more, and sometimes we were a little bit too soft. And those zone defenses, man, like you can play zone. I mean, hell, Indiana plays zone, good bit of zone, but you have to mix it up. You have to disguise. You have to do a number of things. And sometimes I thought we were just kind of just sitting back there a little too soft and start getting picked apart. But at the end of the day, secondary, good unit. They played really well for the most part. I think our biggest thing last year was um, needed more consistency, needed to be more physical. Tackling was an issue at times. We were very inconsistent with our tackling. Pass rush came along towards the end of the year, but like me and my dad said, that was a concern of ours going into the year, and it definitely was an issue for the most part. Got better at it, but it still, in my opinion, needed to be better. We didn't have enough. Um, and like I mentioned, from a schematic standpoint, just even like our run fits, that to me, when I talk about structure, I felt like we didn't have great structure with our run fits. If you really pay attention, and again, you're not going to see this on a TV copy, but if you go back and watch tape, our run fits felt like they were all over the place. Um, so it's easy to like blame the guys, but also put some of that, like the coaching staff has to be, there has to be structure within the system, and there has to be like some like solid rules on like how we're playing things. To me, and even off of what I know, just talking with folks, there's some things that we're not very clear for guys, and that's kind of part of it. When you're going to let guys just be athletes and run around and do things like that, and when there's less structure and you're more reliant on players and their natural ability, you're just going to come with mental errors and things being given up. That's kind of part of it. We got another super chat from Nicholas, man. I appreciate that. He says, I know I'm kind of new here, but I support a lot of Bama podcasts. Love what you're doing. I remember you playing, but I'll be here from now on. Hey, man, thank you so much. I'm glad you are a part of the team, man. We do it every day, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday. We are a radio show. I always remind people that because sometimes, not saying because you said a podcast, but technically it's a podcast on here. But I remind people of that because sometimes they join the like the rerun and they're like, oh man, you're talking too long. Get to the point. And I'm like, well, guys, we're a radio show, right? So we have to do an intro, we have segments, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, man, I appreciate you hanging out with us. The goal is, man, we're trying to just talk ball, break things down, but everything is fact based, man. I'd always tell people, I mean, I'm gonna be fair and honest, but I'm gonna try to do it in a very respectful way. I don't want it to sound doom and gloom, but I have to be honest for the credibility piece, and I think that's just what's important when you're reporting, man. Any news, I feel like that for that matter should just be factual. So that's what we do, man. Whether it's breaking down tape, talking to folks, coaches. I mean, literally, I mean, from me playing and all the relationships that I know. I mean, I know people that coach at damn near probably every school in the NCAA. So yeah, man, that's the mission. And we teach football in here too, man. We'll talk coverages, fronts, all that good stuff. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat. And appreciate you being a part of what we're doing, man. We appreciate it. Damien's comments turn out to be right. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I was the thing that he said that I probably went too far was when he was talking about how much pressure was on like Coach DeBoer. in terms of like, I think like, his job might be on the line depending on the Oklahoma game. That I didn't. There we go. Lamparello-law.com. That was too far. And I just think his delivery, like to be honest, like a number of things he said. I mean, he wasn't wrong in what he was saying. It's just his delivery just kind of came off as kind of like I'm right, and it was almost like riding on, hey, since I'm right. It kind of felt like he was downing the university, but this is I still believe to this day. I don't think it was ever towards the university. I think it was more so like as it progressed. I think it was more so towards like the fans that were going at him. You see what I'm saying? Like when he started kind of really building off it. Now I know he kind of started with some of that energy, but I think as it went on, it was more so like him towards the fans. Then it just kind of got to me when it really just was all over the place when like the school was like using him as a soundbite and then everybody was going back and forth. Like I totally understand people being turned off by his comments, but like when it gets to a point where like even the school's page is trolling, and then like I thought like our creative team looked kind of dumb after doing that because they went out their way to troll him and do all that just to like get our ass whooped embarrassingly like the next game we played. So like stuff like that to me is just new. I ain't gonna lie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'd rather us just kind of just talk less and do more. Just being honest. I feel like we've kind of got caught up with the last couple years of just like, and I get it. It's because there's been so much more media availability. There's been so much more attention on our players. I mean, you've got not only NIL, but you got media availability all the time, which now they're kind of cutting back, which is kind of annoying on my end because I'm like, man, I ain't even first couple years when they were doing all that, I was very respectful of it because I wasn't used to it because I never was able to do that as a player. And I didn't want to be that guy, but they're like letting people in there go do podcasts and go do all this stuff. And now they're kind of cutting it back. And I've been wanting to do more like just regular stuff, like getting some of their guys on here. Cause you guys know, like when you've heard we have former players on here, it's very, very, I mean, we're throwing them softball stuff, never anything remotely controversial, not like just talking football. But now they're kind of getting back to where they're trying to backtrack a little bit. And it's kind of frustrating because I'm like, of course, now they start doing that. But at first it was like wide open. But I get it though. Yeah, yeah. It's all about, being honest. I honestly think divorce should get 2 more years, then we can have a conversation about it. Have to have some patience. Yeah, 100%. That's what we said earlier in the show. I mean, I think this year, I mean, because like let's look at it. I mean, the roster is a majority of his guys. I mean, I think Latham was a saving guy. Jamarian Latham. Who else? Who else is left over from Coach Saban? I know he's the only one that's won, but there might be a couple, maybe, but there's not many. What I'm getting at is, I mean, now you've got majority of these guys are DeBoer's guys. Both the quarterbacks are his guys that he personally recruited. The whole O line is basically all guys that they just brought in. There might be, dang, is there even one guy from? I don't even know. So the O line are their guys. The wide receivers, their guys. And he's an offensive minded coach. So I'm just saying I'm going to be paying attention to how this offense looks this year because now it's year 2 with his coordinator. All of their players. Talty, okay, there you go. He is a saving guy. I'm pretty sure. Good stuff. The kicker of all people. But what I'm getting at is I think we'll know a little bit more about kind of how this whole thing will look after this year. Then, and the only reason I say, I mean, it should be a year 4, but I'm just saying, you just never know. I mean, how this business goes. But assuming there's year 4, which I expect there to be a year 4, which I think might be a little bit better of a situation for this team. I feel like with as young as we are, I feel like we're probably built a little bit better for the next year. Then I think it's a little bit more of a complete assessment. Even though, I mean, I think it's fair to assess what they've done over the past 2 years, but I think it's also very important to be, level-headed and say, okay, first year, a lot of adjustment, had to replace his coordinator who went to the NFL. I mean, he took over somebody else's team, even though there was good players. And I know we lost some good players, but let's not act. I hate when people make it seem like we lost all these people and he had nobody good to play with. I mean, that's not true. It is had a lot of really good players still. And then last season, which to me, the offense took a step back, which was interesting because you do get Grubb back, and then you had a quarterback that he didn't bring in, but was a better fit from a skill set perspective. So we're getting closer and closer to kind of having a true assessment of like DeBoer, his system, all this stuff. But I think you're right. I think year 3 and 4 is a little bit more of a like complete assessment. But I do think there's a lot you can still take away from kind of what has been done and what they've been able to accomplish through 2 years. Rather somebody be honest and try to, yeah, no, 100%. That's how I am. I'm like that with anything. I'm like, just tell me straight up. I don't want you to beat around the bush, man. Like, good or bad, man. Keep it real with me. But I think that's why a lot of people really enjoy kind of what we do on our show here, just because there's a lot of people, and I get it when you cover Alabama, which we cover for the most part Alabama, but um, a lot of people try to, I mean, and I get it because a lot of them are also fans. They've been like lifelong fans, but I have the perspective where even though I played here, I mean, I think people forget, like, I actually like about because I had somebody, I was like, man, like we are listening to your show on YouTube, man. You just sound so professional. I'm like, well, to be fair, I actually am a broadcaster. I mean, I work with like the network. I've been sideline reporter, been offered to do the color analyst here for literally Alabama football and do a post game show. So that said, and I view myself, I'm not saying I'm on ESPN, I'm not even close, but it's no different than, Cole Kublik, Greg, or whoever, Damien. Like when you're actual broadcaster, not like a beat writer or like a, podcast where like you're a fan covering it. I mean, you have to be objective, right? So let's see. Casey Poe, I think he might have been a Coach Saban guy too. There might be like 3, 4. Regardless, though, I mean, 3 or 4 guys out of 105, I mean, that's nothing. So, yeah, I mean, this will be Coach DeBoer's first year with, like, legit, like, majority his pieces. Now, some of those guys are young, but still, I mean, like, the quarterbacks, all the people they brought in, I mean, those are his guys. So we'll see. But I don't know, man. I mean, everything's gonna be right on that offensive line, I'm be honest with you. Because I mean, it's just when you got a whole bunch of new faces. I mean, it's not really. It's hard to say how it's going to go, and most of the time, it doesn't really go as well as you would hope, just given that there's so many new faces. But if Clem and the offensive staff can get a lot of that offensive line, I think we'll definitely be a good young team that's probably going to have growing pains, but I think we'll still be a solid team. But if that offensive line is as inconsistent as they've been and how I probably expect them to be, at least for the early part of the season until they really kinda get rolling, um, definitely could be some frustrations, at least early on, but I will say this though, man. I think if you can just find a way to get enough out of the running game to keep you balanced, protect listen, in terms of quarterback, we haven't talked about this, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I think you're good with both guys, but you gotta find a way to get Keelan Russell up to speed to be ready to go play. I think Austin Mack could definitely go be a good player for you. Don't get me wrong. And I mean, he's got a good chance of kind of having a little bit of an early lead, given that he's older and a little bit more experienced in this system. But I'm just telling you, and when we get Ty on here, I'll get him to talk about it. I mean, this system is a very complicated system, and I think that's going to be Keelan Russell's biggest uphill battle. It's just furthering his I guess his knowledge and his comfort and confidence in this system. But if he can get up to speed, man, that dude that dude's a damn good football player. I ain't gonna lie to you. Study Coach Saban's cover 7 is so hard. It would take me 2 years to grasp that system. Yeah, it is tough. It's basically man match defense, but with just a a rule and an addendum for pretty much any little anything you could think of. But yeah, no, cover 7 is definitely tough, but um there's a reason why I was, so successful and so many coaches from his coaching tree have adapted it. To be real, I don't remember Kiffin or Sark in pictures recruiting when they were with Saban. Shit, Coach Kiffin recruiting? Come on, Dwight. Come on, man. It ain't about pictures. Um, Kiffin recruited his ass off. I ain't gonna lie to you. Kiffin was recruiting. I mean, from everybody that I've talked to, I don't think Grubb's the biggest recruiter. I don't think it's not really just like the pictures. I think it's just a fact. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying like you got some guys that are big time recruiters. I just don't think that's really his thing. After next year, we're going to be losing players again. How many times are going to? And no, that's a good point too. That's the other thing when people um, people count on like the high school recruiting piece of it. We haven't lost too many of the guys that they've recruited, which is great. But I mean, you always have to be prepared for that to be a thing you might have to be dealing with. So hopefully we can keep our rate up with like retaining the guys that we bring in. But um, that is something to think about, though, because there's going to like these offers, man, they're not going anywhere. These people are going to be steady trying to take your players. Yeah, no, Sark and Kiffin both were really good recruiters, man. Grubb's just not like that's just not. I'm not saying I'm not saying he doesn't do it, but if you're comparing him to like those kind of guys, yeah, it's totally different. I Haywood be a starter. Um, it's tough to say. I mean, there's so many open spots. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he earns a spot. I know they're high on Jackson Lloyd. I think he's got a great chance of um, getting an opportunity at left tackle. Michael Carroll on the right side. It sounds like he's going to stick at right tackle. I know they like Will Sanders. He's going to be competing for one of those guard spots. Mm, so I mean, I think Ty Haywood. I mean, it's really open competition. I mean, if he can come in and beat out the Mississippi State guy or Jackson Lloyd, I mean, it's his job at tackle, or maybe you slide him in at guard. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, the way this thing works, like I'll just give you like an example, like from as a player, when there's open competition, there's times where coaches might be leaning in one direction because of whether it's recruiting or whether they just have an idea on kind of who they want to go with. But a lot of times, I mean, look, it's about what you go out there and do, and you have to do it consistently, right? So for the offensive line, I mean, like it legit is like wide open. You're talking about an offensive line unit that has been completely dismantled. There's only one guy returning, a new coach. So like sometimes if there was like a previous coach, he might have. I'm not saying bias, but he's going to know some guys or like have an idea or an impression of who guys are. That doesn't exist in this equation. Right now, you got a brand new coach that just got here, and all y'all's asses just got here. So everybody's new. Everybody's just getting to learn each other and figure each other out. There's no history. So to me, I think this is going to be a wide ass open competition. Meaning, like, I can't even tell you who really is going to end up being the guy. Because the coaches, I'm telling you right now, the coaches probably have no clue. Half of the line, they've never seen them in person, like work. You know what I mean? Like they brought these guys in via the portal. The only guys they know about are, Jackson Lloyd, Casey Poe, Michael Carroll, Will Sanders, all those other guys, the 9 or however many offensive linemen we brought in, they've never seen them in person. So until spring, I mean, anybody that's like saying somebody's going to be a starter, they're just talking. Now you can always like predict kind of, oh, I think this guy will play here. There's nothing wrong with that. But if anybody's like, oh, this guy will be starting, There's no way to know. These coaches don't even know. I'm telling you that for a fact. It's just too new, way too new. But I think that's actually probably a good thing because one thing I do know is competition brings out the best of you. You know, from a player perspective, like when I was competing. So after my redshirt sophomore year, we had Ryan Anderson leave, we had Tim Williams leave. So we played at a base 3-4. We had a Sam and a Jack. We had two positions that were up for grabs, and I was a Sam. But we had brought in Terrell Lewis, who definitely was more of a Jack, but he could play some Sam. And so I was competing with Terrell, who my position coach, he recruited Terrell. So that was like his guy. My position coach didn't recruit me. So that's what I'm saying. Like in those situations, sometimes you kind of like somebody like me, I might have a little bit more of an uphill battle because when a coach recruits a guy, there's always going to be like little bit of a natural bias because that's literally the guy he brought in. He's going to want that guy to, to excel. That's his guy. Um, and you had Anthony, you had Jamie. So um, I just know, man, like, and it's not like we were like going against each other like in a negative way, but like we all were just like, we knew we wanted a job. We wanted to carve out a role. And I think it made all of us better because then what happened was um, that spring, I mean, I was playing my best ball. Terrell looked damn good. Anthony was playing really good ball. Jamie was stepping up big time. Like, and then we even had like, I don't know if you guys remember like a Yabi Anoma. He, he's like a 5-star recruit. I think he was also from like Terrell's area. He was probably one of the best athletes I've ever been around. So we just had so much competition that it just made everybody better. And I feel like our whole room got better because of that. We had 2 open spots and everybody was like actually fighting to try to get those spots versus like the year before. I'm not saying we weren't competing the same, but it's a little bit different when you got 2 seniors starting an outside backer. We're not dumb. Like we're competing to get some reps behind those guys, but the reality is we're all going to be role players, like rotational guys. So I say all that to say I think that is one positive I will say. Even though I have a lot of concerns with the offensive line, I'm not super confident as of now just because I there's just so many question marks. I just can't say that. I can't say I'm super confident. Um, I do like the fact that it should breed a whole hell of a lot of competition this spring, and hopefully that kind of sets the standard for um, this upcoming season where you just got a bunch of hungry dudes just battling it out day in and day out, starting from here on all the way to fall camp, which should help them in turn, grow a little bit quicker, if that makes sense. Yeah, looking at the Adam, oh, excuse looking at the Adam, looking at the schedule, Adam, it's tough, man. Now my dad's got me like, man, I don't even want to predict stuff because he made what did he say? It's lame. What did he say it was? Um, well, he's just talking. But anyway, nah, I mean it's I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a 9-3 type year, given just all the youth that we have, all the new faces. But I could see us honestly, I can see it going in a number of ways. I could see us having a similar type year to this past year, but I think that would probably be our ceiling. That's just my opinion. I think our ceiling would probably be a similar year like this past year, where definitely some inconsistencies, finding a way to win some games, uh, like somewhat make a push, but you can just tell we might just still be a notch below some of those top teams. And again, I think if you're just realistic, I mean, to me, I don't. As long as you're at least trying to compete or you're showing up and putting yourself in position, I mean, I think that's about all you can ask. But I think right now, I mean, I look at the Georgia game and going and looking back, I thought they lost a number of guys, and I went back this weekend, kind of looked at some of the players that they got right now, but they definitely got a lot of dudes that were young from this past season that are going to be back and obviously older. I would probably say Georgia. I know we got to play LSU is kind of a question mark for me, knowing that Lane Kiffin just got there. Whole bunch of new faces, but they've added some good players, though. I mean, they added some really good players via the portal, and then Texas A&M. So I look at those 3 games. I know there's Tennessee too. Matter of fact, I'll show you guys the schedule real quick because this one guy posted. I forgot to get to this today, but to me, I think the toughest games. I mean, I think we all can agree on. I mean, Georgia, really just that stretch. I think it all depends on how you go. Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, and LSU. Um, I think that determines a lot. But initially, I thought our schedule was really tough, and the more I look at it, I'm like, it's a little bit more of an unknown at this point. If I'm being honest, I mean, I think the first 4 games will be good to kind of get some of those growing pains out the way. Really 5. I mean, not the not to count Mississippi State out, but I think really once you get to Georgia, then you got that stretch. That's going to be how you fare in that stretch will be interesting. I feel like we'll probably be like 2-2 in that stretch, but I wouldn't be shocked if we have a third loss somewhere along the way outside of that. That's where I think like 9-3. Just right as of right now. Now, I mean, once I see a little bit more during the spring and stuff, it might be a little bit different, but I do think 2027 because 2027 will be you'll have a what I would expect is a returner and Keelan Russell at quarterback. A lot of those young guys on the offensive line will then have some experience. I imagine this is probably going to be Ryan Williams last year, but you'll have like Lottie Brooks back, some of these young guys, Sadarian Morgan. Like you'll have a lot of, you know what I mean? Like some of these older guys, then defensively, you'll be losing the whole secondary pretty much. Not everybody. I mean, wait, Xavier Brown Jr. this year? Yeah, you're losing Xavier Brown, right? You're definitely losing both safeties. Yeah, you'll lose everybody except um, Red Morgan will probably end up coming back. Then also DJ Lee. Like Grubbs. Who said it was Grubbs last year? Yeah, Brown's. Yeah, ZB's gone. Yeah, so that's the only thing for 27. The whole secondary is pretty much gone except DJ Lee, and I think Red Morgan will probably end up coming back. So I think he'll have an extra year eligibility. I mean, unless he decides to leave early, but I think he would probably benefit coming back. But then you got a bunch of young players. I mean, they've recruited well. The anticipation is those guys, end up stepping up. Front seven wise, London Simmons will probably be your leader in that D line room. Um, Justin Hill will be here. Uh, those young linebackers will be a little bit older. So I mean, defense will be a little bit more interesting, but I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah, we're talking about 27 right now, but yeah, safeties are back this year, but in 27 they'll both be gone. Yeah, secondary wise, man, I feel like we've been pretty solid. I mean, not only with the guys that we've been playing with, but even like some of the young players. I feel like we've been like hitting a lot on these young DBs, man, which is really good. Which is really good. Hopefully, we can continue that trend. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I got my eyes on Grubb in this offense this upcoming season. I really do. I think Grubb is a good coach. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's just gotta. I think he's got to find a way to clean some stuff up. Listen, what there's no denying what I mean. What he did before he got here. I mean, he's definitely been a good coach. I know Seattle was Seattle, but again, that's the NFL. Totally different ball game. And I know what we saw last year resembled a little bit of what we saw, what he had going um, in Seattle. But I'll say this: I mean, if it's your first year as a coach, it was his first year in Seattle. It was his first year in Tuscaloosa last year. You got to be a little patient, even though even myself. I mean, there's a number of things that I could nitpick about. Um, what he did as coordinator last year. I want to at least give him a second year. I mean, he's going to know his personnel better. It's his first year coaching the SEC. Like, I'm gonna give him a little bit of grace for all that, but I am gonna be paying attention to it because I do think, similar to what we talked about with defense, some little things that they can do. I think offensively, I think they need to um, kind of find out like what their true identity is, right? Meaning, if you go back and look, like if you watch, like, all right, I'll give you guys an example. You watch San Francisco, their wide zone team. Do they have other run concepts outside of that? Sure, but that's their bread and butter. Majority of the time, they're running wide zone. They draft and they bring guys in based off of that system. Their backs are built to fit that system. I mean, that's what they do. They're a wide zone team. That's their identity. They build off of it. You see the play action. Um, I mean, they have a system. They have an identity. They know what they're doing. The guys know what they're doing, and they execute. I don't see a similar deal like with us in this offense. It feels like we have so much. It's so complicated, but it's like we're what's the phrase? Uh, we're a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Whatever it is, that's kind of what it felt like our offense was. Uh, just doing so many different things and not really having true mastery of many things, right? If anything, it was maybe the passing game earlier on, but then what happened? That started getting, you had no running game. You're one dimensional. People started, you seeing three high looks, people taking away the deep parts of the field. We're trying to go back and do the things that worked earlier on in the year, but we didn't really evolve as an offense, and we just had no identity. So I think that would be huge for this offense, man. Almost even just simplifying things. Like, hey, just watch Indiana. I mean, like they have their identity. They do a lot of RPO. They don't do a whole bunch of different. Like, look at they literally run. It's all a lot of zone scheme, right? A lot of inside zone, split zone, mid zone, some duo. And they build off of the RPO game, right? They just work it if you're playing a lot of off. They're hitting those quick hitches in the RPO game. They see you're in man. They'll take their shots. I mean, like they're not. They don't have to do a whole bunch. I think for us, it was like we were trying to do all these things, almost like we were outsmarting ourselves. And then, like, I wasn't trying to say like none of it. Again, Coach Cap, I think it was with 100%. We all can agree that it was probably time to move on. But I can't help but just wonder. I mean, like, how difficult is it for a guy like that to even kind of get that rhythm and establish consistency with his guys? And there's not even like the offense itself, man. I don't feel like we just were putting our guys in the best position, but just doing too much. Seriously, hope our new offensive line coach can have an influence on Grubb relative to valuing the running game. Grubb smart, truly respect the guy's credentials and yeah. Listen, that's a great point because you just don't know. I mean, the dynamics are always interesting, man. I mean, like, because you got some guys that are the smartest guys in the room, and they don't really want to hear what other people have to say or input. And that's why I said last week, I said the same thing you said, man. I'm like, you got a new O-line coach who he's got experience as a player and a coach, and from everything that JC Hassenauer told us, man, I mean, it sounds like the dude is uh, in terms of teaching and fundamentals, I mean, it sounds like he's excellent. And then he's also been a run game coordinator. So I mean, he's got something to offer there. Then even Derek Nix, man, I know he's a wide receiver coach, but he coached running backs at Ole Miss for 9 years, I think. You know? So I just think, man, like I said, I mean, you watch us. I mean, we do like pin and pull. We ran a good bit of that, but then it just always it's like you see pin and pull, then against Indiana, we were running a bunch of like mid and wide zone, it looked like, and it just like all over the place. So we were trying to run a lot of gap scheme too. Um, but I just feel like we just lacked kind of an identity. And it's tough, man. If you're asking guys to do a million different things, I mean, you can only rep so many things. So think about it. If you get to a game and your call sheet is this big and you haven't been repping a whole bunch of these things, that's what I'm saying, man. I think like it's easy to just point fingers at one person, but when you really think of it as a whole, man, like there's other things that didn't have us put in the best position either. And then the next step is, I always say this. I mean, again, I love Coach DeBoer, man, but I think he's an offensive guy. I mean, at the end of the day, he's the head coach, man. Like it's his job. He's got to check somebody. I mean, you got to, you know what I mean? Like as head coach, you got to figure out where the issues are coming from, and you got to find a way to get it fixed up. Yeah. Don't know why we couldn't run the ball, but if we could have, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. No, they definitely for not being able to run the ball. I mean, we definitely did accomplish a lot, but um, I mean, shoot, we've talked about it probably too much. I mean, all the things that were issues for us trying to run the ball, but we'll see. I mean, it's hard to imagine a world where that's not like a key emphasis for them this offseason. I mean, there's just, I mean, if that's not their biggest emphasis this offseason, I mean, that would be malpractice, man. So I fully expect that to be like the main focus. It should be. Ole Miss can never run the ball until Kiffin came. I'd have to go back and look at their statistics, but my point is, you have Robert Gillespie, who's a running backs coach. You have Derek Nix, who coached running backs for 9 years. I know one or two of his guys maybe were like conference players, all conference, whatever. Again, I don't know exactly his whole resume there. I just know he has a lot of experience coaching and played running back in college. I think he's a pretty damn good player. But um, then you bring in Adrian Clem, who has experience as run game coordinator, player, coach, all that good stuff. My point is, you have more, eyes and ears now. You have more opinions, meaning like maybe, just maybe, you know, discuss things, get other perspectives, because I mean, the smartest Coach Saban was, best believe. I mean, he always, was hearing the opinions of others. I mean, he had advisors or people like Glenn Schumann. Glenn Schumann was a young guy. Glenn Schumann, people didn't know about because he was behind the scenes. He's like an analyst, but Glenn Schumann had a lot of input on a lot of things. Just like when Pete Golden got here. I mean, we started doing a lot of stuff that Pete brought over. I mean, and if Coach Saban can listen and adapt to somebody else's philosophies and their ideas, these dudes here could damn sure do it as well. So, all right. That said, I think I'm gonna get out of here, guys. I'm gonna grab me some lunch, man. I think we're like 50 minutes of overtime, but uh, per usual, man. Thank you guys so much. Always a pleasure. Tomorrow we got a Talking Tuesday. We've got Clint at the top of the hour. We'll hear what he's got to say, get his thoughts and all the latest. We'll bring this back up tomorrow, maybe schedule outlook. But I definitely want to talk about that Ty Simpson conversation because it was interesting, man. His dad and their camp had all got first round grades, but then Matt Miller, who is again, he's very credible in the draft space. He said he couldn't find one representative down at the Senior Bowl to give Ty Simpson the first round grade. So I want to break I want to break that down because that's definitely interesting. If I had to guess, it's probably more so the grades that maybe not to spoil it, but I think maybe it's kind of two different perspectives. Maybe the side of Ty Simpson in his camp was more so based off of maybe everything, including like other players and that good stuff. And maybe what Matt Miller was receiving is more so strictly based on Ty as a prospect, maybe not including some of the other. Does that make sense? Meaning, because like basically what I'm getting at is there's a lot of times you'll have a guy that has a second round grade, but he ends up being a first round draft pick given the draft order, team needs, all that stuff. Maybe what Ty's camp was getting was basically more on the side of, hey man, given the order, given the players, everything included, and maybe Matt Miller's piece was more so. I don't know, just kind of just off his prospect profile. I don't know. Great show today. Hey, thanks so much, man. Hey, normally, listen, we normally get more guests. Normally, there's a little more energy. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm a little tired. I had a long weekend, but yeah, man. I just appreciate you joining the show. Everybody else, appreciate you guys hanging out, and we'll be back here tomorrow, same time on a Talking Tuesday, right here on the Miller's Edge. See you guys.